Hello everyone, and welcome to This Nintendo Life, episode 298. My name is NBZ, and it's finally here. It's finally time, Bally, to...
I finally held a Game Award.
Yeah, he did it. That was wait, how long ago was that, actually, at this point?
I think we forgot to mention it last time, but yeah, while I was down south, I was going to a stag do, and I went via London. Went for a very nice South Korean with MBZ right next to his work, and MBZ showed off some awards, including the Game Awards, all three of them.
Yeah, I gave Bally a tour of the office, which took, I don't know, like 5 seconds, because it's not massive. But also stuff was happening, and we were like getting soundproofing put in at the time as well. So that was going on in the background, and there was like 5 people in the office. It was a very empty day, but... yes, we have our cabinet now. So we have a cabinet where all our awards go. And so the 3 game awards are there. And so, of course, I had to take one out of the cabinet, give it to Bally, and let him hold it and see what it was all about.
That thing is heavy.
Yeah. Yep. It's... Yeah, what do you think about the feel of it? Like the texture on the outside. Is it what you expected?
Oh, feels very nice. Feels very nice. It's a very professional... Like, just put in the money on those things. They are they look and feel good, and I think it's a bit bigger in the flesh than you think it'll be, and definitely a lot heavier.
Yeah, also, like, the shelves on our cabinet, we're super lucky, because literally, like, they only just fit in. It's, like, the perfect height. The height, like, the wings of the Game Awards just, like, slightly... They don't even scrape against the ceiling, but there's, like, less than a millimeter, like, from the top of it. So they do just snugly fit in there, which is... very nice. I can't remember if I messaged you this, but the Game Awards are made by Weta Workshop, who are the people who like did all the props for the Lord of the Rings movies. Like,
oh wow,
I know Weta very well because as a child, all I did was watch the Lord of the Rings extended editions, bonus features on repeat for hours and hours and hours. And so Weta Workshop I'm very familiar with because they talked about how Weta Workshop was formed and like the partnership with Peter Jackson and with the Lord of the Rings movies back in the day through Weta Workshop. And so yeah, the Game Awards are made by Weta Workshop themselves, which I'm pretty sure Jeff announced that back like 10 years ago when the Game Awards started. I just completely forgotten about it until boxes showed up at our office that were like, these are from Weta Workshop, and I was like, no way, oh shit. So that was very cool.
They're UK based.
No, Weta are based in New Zealand.
Oh, they are in New Zealand. Wow, okay.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
very cool.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm sure they did all the props for the Hobbit movies as well, but I'm pretty sure they're just, they do loads of stuff these days, and one of those things is making the Game Awards for Jeffrey over there, so it's very nice. But yeah, we're here, Bally. Of course, we're not just here to talk about you holding a Game Award, as nice as that is.
We're one week into Switch 2.
We are, in fact, a week into the Nintendo Switch 2.
You got that Joy-Con drift yet?
Not yet. I'm hoping for it to come soon so that we can all. Apparently, people are saying that these aren't the Hall effect sticks that everyone wanted.
Exactly.
But they're. I don't know. I feel like I've heard someone say that they got Joy-Con drift, and I'm like,
my God.
This is they can't do this again.
The fact that they're designed almost the same way as the previous set makes me feel like it's inevitable. But
yeah, I guess
because it's just the metal contacts, and then that always goes south. So yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah, maybe it might just be bad internet rumors. Who knows? But anyway, yeah, we're here. Hello, welcome. If this is your first episode of this podcast because you just bought a new Switch 2 and you're looking to hear people talk about it, welcome. We're a Nintendo podcast.
Give everyone a welcome tour.
Yeah, we're here to welcome you on our tour. We're a Nintendo podcast. We're here every couple of weeks, and we talk about video games, Nintendo mostly, but also other stuff, because we play video games everywhere, and we talk about the industry, all that sort of jazz as well. And if you missed it in the feed, we had an episode go up last week that was a little kind of weekend diary from myself and Bally as we both kind of checked in at various intervals throughout our first weekend with the Switch, gave us some kind of hot takes as we were going there, and that is up for everybody to listen to. But this is going to be a bit more structured, a bit more kind of focused in on specifics and talking about everything surrounding the Switch 2 and our thoughts on it. So yeah, I guess let's get into it. Bally, how are you feeling 1 week in with the Switch 2? Just give me your general aura. What's going on in your head?
Positive. It feels like a very low key console release. If I was to compare it to another console release that I've experienced, it's probably like the Xbox Series X,
Right.
plus a couple of games, because I feel like that system came out with practically 0 games that I was interested in day one. So it's all about the power boost.
Yeah, I think it was Yakuza Like a Dragon that launched with it,
Oh,
which
was it?
was
Right.
like, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The power boost, the increase in size of screen, like these feel like the biggest changes. I think that one it is definitely just missing that single player campaign-y focused game, whether that's Metroid Prime 4 or a Donkey Kong Bonanza, that us as predominantly solo players can go back in, check into, play that some nice first party Nintendo launch game and move on with our lives. Like a bit like Breath of the Wild with Switch 1. Like I just think that it's definitely lacking that, but I don't want console launch lineup to affect my overall thoughts on the hardware, because I think it is exactly what we wanted, more or less. I mean, it would have been nice to have the OLED screen. It'd be nice to have much better battery life. Not that I've tested that out much, because I hear it's very bad. And I think otherwise it's a solid 2 thumbs up, to be honest. It's exactly what we wanted, more or less.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a boring 2 thumbs up, I think, at the end of the day, right? It's like, yep.
Very boring 2 thumbs up.
Yep, cool. It's good. I think it's very good. Obviously, it's better in pretty much every way from the original Switch. Bigger is better, as they say. And yeah, I like it. Just generally speaking, I think, as a device going forward for the next 7-8 years, I'm happy with this, and I'm sure I'm going to have a good time with it as we go through, as more games come out, and as it kind of finds its feet a little bit in the market. But yeah, I think from just a pure hardware perspective, from like it feels good in your hands perspective, I think they've made something really high quality. Like something about the quality of the back. It's not plastic, but like the texture on the back of it, the way it feels. I think for me, the one thing that obviously you've not had experience with yet, that Pro Controller is like the silkiest thing I've felt in my life. It is so weird that it feels that way, but it feels fantastic. And at this point, it might be the best controller of the generation. Like,
is it better than the Series X controller?
I like the Series X controller. One of the issues I have with the Series X controller is the texturing on the back of it and how easy it is to get it dirty. Every Series X controller does this thing where the top of it is a color, the bottom of it is white, and it has a texture that like collects dirt from your fingers so easily. And I literally because I think you told me about this, I went to Tesco and bought baby wipes just for the expressed fact of cleaning the back of my Series X controller. That's literally all I use it for, because it gets so fucking dirty all the time. And this is an issue with... actually, it kind of is an issue with the PS5 one, because the PS5 is white as well. But it's never been an issue with the original Switch Pro Controller. That was always fine. The Pro Controller had a texture that was kind of smooth and quite nice. This one is so good in the hat. Like, it feels amazing. And I haven't really programmed or used the GLGR buttons yet, but those are perfectly placed. Like, it feels like it melts into your hand. It's a really, really nice feeling controller. And yeah, it's definitely a piece of the hardware that I would recommend people get at some point. Now, obviously, they'll probably do special versions. They'll do like a Splatoon 4 edition or whatever. That will come out. I
think I'll pick up a special version, because it was around when Tears of the Kingdom came out, but my first Pro Controller, the Splatoon one, was just basically drifting quite badly, the analog stick, and it was like, right, I don't want to just be fighting this analog stick for Tears of the Kingdom, so I'm just going to get a new one. And I played most of Tears of the Kingdom with that, and that did me well for like the last few years of Switch 1. But yeah, it just means that I'll just wait longer for this version, and I'll probably get something that ties into a game I'm interested in and go from there, because it does sound very good.
I would say that we both had a similar life cycle of Pro Controller, and it sounds like Pro Controller for the Switch 1 actually has a life cycle of probably about 5 years, right? Because I got mine a couple of years into the system's life cycle, and I got the Xenoblade Special Edition that they put out, and that lasted me up until Switch 2's launch. I think it was maybe a year ago or so, the R button on it I started to realize I can't softly hold this anymore. If I want it to register, I have to kind of hold it quite hard, I have to press down on it. I have to apply more pressure than I usually would naturally press it with, and so that led to situations playing games where I softly touch it didn't do anything, and I was like, it's just annoying. So the fact that it was kind of on its way out for me made sense for me to just get in on the Pro Controller immediately.
That's interesting you say 5 years, because I also bought a new PlayStation DualSense controller, like just started this year.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the blue one. Did I mention this before?
Oh, you did. I remember.
Yeah, it was mainly to play like Witcher 3 and stuff like that. So it was like, right, 5 years I feel is about, if you're playing the amount we do, which I would say is quite a bit, then yeah, I think that 5 years is an okay life cycle.
I guess so. It would be nice if the controllers were less exorbitant, but that's just kind of where we're at the moment. So, I guess, any other thoughts on just the hardware itself? Have you tried it with the stand yet and taken Joy-Cons off? I mean, we talked about it a lot in that first kind of weekend diary, but the satisfaction of clacking those fucking Joy-Cons onto the side. Yes. Oh my god, the magnets, the way it feels, the way it just like slots in so perfectly. It's really good. I really enjoy it.
It's very good because while it is an electromagnet, they don't make a big song and dance about it being an electromagnet. It's quite subtle, and I feel like for those who maybe don't know, it wouldn't be clear to them that it actually is an electromagnet. But I think like the snapping them is very satisfying. The release switch is very clear and satisfying. There is still like a tiny bit of wobble, but the wobble's a lot less than the Switch 1 and is totally manageable, doable. Like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I was never too worried about I guess the wobble you're talking about, right, is like the horizontal, I don't know how to call it, but like it's the back and forth if you like kind of swivel it on the side, right? Like there's give to it. Forward and backwards, basically. If you're pushing forwards and backwards on the Joy-Con, they slightly move a little bit. If you play Welcome Tour, you can learn about why that is and why that has a little bit of give in it. But I do think for me the thing that always annoyed me about Switch 1, and this was a real big problem with my OLED, was lining up with the bottom of the Switch console, right? So like what would happen is, because you would click them into place and you would hold it, they would like shift upwards slightly, and so it wouldn't be flush with the bottom of the console, right? And the way that these are built, that is never going to happen, because the entirety of it clips in such a way that there is no way for it to have give. There's no little bit of slide for it to like slightly unadjust itself from the flush kind of bottom of the screen itself, which was my whole saga of having to go buy electric tape and like use that to like put it on the Switch OLED and make it like very sturdy, to the point where I just don't ever want to take the Joy-Con off of my Switch OLED, which eventually became annoying when, in situations I'm like, well, I could play this multiplayer with this person or whatever, but I can't because I don't want to take it off, because then it's a pain to get it back on again, basically.
Right.
So it's nice to have a Switch console that I can easily take the Joy-Cons off of and not have to worry about it anymore, and like it's all good and fine. So that's good. I think my immediate impressions of the stand was that it was a little flimsy, but the more that I have kind of used it, there's a couple of, again, mini games in Welcome Tour that make you use the stand. It feels very, very solid and very good, and has a...
I'm surprised it's a bar and isn't just solid. Like, it does feel it is plastic, it is a little bit flimsy. There will be some people who really roughhouse these things will be able to snap that pretty easily.
I'm sure,
but it does feel firm. It's nice that it goes across the whole system. It isn't just on one side of it. It looks good.
Again, if you play Welcome Tour, you'll learn why that it had to be like that. So they could fit extra battery size or whatever the fuck inside. I don't know. They were talking. We'll get into Welcome Tour, but there's so I actually.
You mean Nintendo made up a reason for something to happen that doesn't fully feel real, like the truth.
Yeah, exactly. No, they have answers for you. You just need to buy their $7.99 sterling software that teaches you about the console. But yes, I think the stand is good. Volume button, for some reason, I have a trouble hitting like the right one, or just like the getting the pressure on it correctly is feels like a little harder to press for me. And yeah, I think the rest of it is pretty good. I've not tried charging it from the top USB slot yet. Opening the game cartridge slot is a little tougher, it feels like. Like they've got this this like kind of metal inside to it that feels like it's kind of like a protector almost for the cartridge slot, which is quite nice. So it feels a bit more safe, but a little harder to open.
I have a feeling you pull it from the opposite side than the Switch one. I think that's what feels confusing.
I think that's the confusing thing. I was like, how do I open this? Oh, I have to go this way? Like, that's why it feels a little bit off, a little bit odd.
The micro SD is still hidden underneath the kickstand. That's something they've retained, which is strange.
I haven't actually looked at that yet because I don't have a micro SD Express or whatever the fuck it is that the new one is.
So I heard from like Tim Geddes on Kind of Funny. So there's a lot of issues with this micro SD stuff. First of all, it seems it only broadly goes up to 256 gigs at the moment, and
that's because Express only allows that much right now. They haven't got there with the technology yet. We'll have to wait like 3 years for the 1 gig version, I think.
Secondly, even with that one, Tim was saying like, there's still people saying it runs more slowly than if it's installed unless software is installed onto the Switch 2 itself. So
that sucks.
I'm kind of leaning towards having high-speed internet, which I already do, and just doing fridge management, because I think the download speeds on the Switch 2 are actually pretty damn good. And I generally play fewer games than you and me, Zed. I'm not bouncing between quite as many, so I don't really mind just kind of fridge managing until these things either drop in price or it becomes a bit more logical which one to go for.
I mean, 3 years probably is my guess of like when we'll get an affordable 1 terabyte micro SD Express card. And I think by that point I will be ready to buy one. I'll be like done with the fridge management. But I think at the moment, like, I filled up half of the storage so far, and that's mainly on old games that I re-downloaded because. So did you do this system transfer?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah. So I forgot that when you do system transfer, you actually don't lose anything from your old Switch. Like, you actually keep everything on there. You move over all the licenses basically for things. So my Animal Crossing Island will now exist on Switch 2 and not Switch 1 anymore. But yeah, that's kind of the process of it. And it was
your Switch 1 automatically becomes a secondary system then.
I believe that's the case. Yeah, I believe that's how it works.
I've not actually gone back into the Switch 1 to test all that, but. So yeah, say you started playing one of your downloaded games, I imagine it would be like taking out the game cart trading thing that it's called. I forgot what it's called. The digital game cart.
Virtual game cards, yeah.
I imagine it would do that.
I don't think it would do that because if you are logged into your own account, you don't need to deal with virtual game cards. Virtual game cards are only if you are giving it to someone else, I want to say, as opposed to your own account, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, not had any experience with that. I do think that the everything to do with the memory card situation and the actual amount of memory you have on board is fine for launch because there's not that much, right? Mario Kart is 23 gigabytes, I want to say. So it's a chunky boy, but you still, if you only have Mario Kart on there, you still have like 200 gigabytes left, essentially.
I think the concern comes, and I think it's all to do with third parties. So, like, if Nintendo get to a place where, let's say, the next Assassin's Creed comes out day and date on Switch 2 as well as Series X and PS5, I'm really interested if that will happen. Part of me thinks it might happen, but my concern would then be these third parties that make games for the Switch 2 will have way bigger file sizes than, say, your Mario Karts, your next Mario. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I'm sure, will be like, I don't know, 12 gigs or something, right? I think these...
Yeah, it'll be some magic number.
Right, these third party, like Assassin's Creed, I don't know, Kenya, wherever it's going to be next, it's going to be like, 180 gigs or something. And I think that's where Nintendo might have snookered themselves slightly in terms of attracting third parties to have their games day and date on Switch 2 because so few people will have the relevant kind of storage to kind of download these massive games.
Right, when Call of Duty, which is inevitably 100 gigabytes, comes to Switch 2, like, yeah, that's half your storage on one video game. Like it's it with those games in particular, you're right, it will get quite alarming. And I believe Cyberpunk is on a 64 gigabyte cartridge, which is good. It's one of those exceptions to the rule, one that actually has the cartridge on it, as opposed to the weird thing they're doing.
We have a question. So I actually have a question about that. Shall we get to it?
Yeah, let's bring that in. Sure.
So yeah, we put this call out for a bunch of Switch 2 questions, so we've got a bunch of those to talk about through the show. But this one is from Capsule J. Says, Dear Bally and MBZ, a game that you're excited about has just been announced for Switch 2. There are two versions of the release, eShop download or game keycard. There will be no full cartridge release. Assuming the price is the same either way, which version would you choose? Interested to hear your thoughts. I know I'm conflicted about this myself. Sincerely, Capsule J.
So, am I correct in that the game keycard physical is a code in a box? Or is it a cartridge?
Yes, and I believe that's the case for games like Civ 7, for example. I think it's just a code in a box.
Okay, is it a cartridge that is small that then has to download the rest of it? You know, is it that? I don't know. I actually don't know.
That's a good question.
Because my answer is, I think the thing is, I would always go all digital if the price was equal across the board, because I don't need extra stuff, right? Like I have physical mainly because it's cheaper, and that's the reason that I buy physical games.
Yeah.
As soon as things become parity in terms of pricing, I just will go digital. So it's a very easy choice for me. I don't really care about this Switch 2, whatever you call it, for game keycard situation. Have zero stake in this race at all, because it's just not something I really care about that much. So
yeah, I don't mind either. I'll go cheaper, and my prediction is for the foreseeable in the UK that will probably be physical through Amazon, even places like Argos, other shops. I think will have physical games for the Switch 2, especially when you talk about like these first party Nintendo ones. They'll probably just be a good 5-10 quid cheaper consistently, I imagine.
I imagine so.
And until that's not the case, I think we're both agreed we're going to stick to that.
Yeah, totally. We have another question from Flapjackal, which is, what are your thoughts on the Joy-Con grip controller, and do you think they should have made something better than a slightly adjusted Switch 1 version? Me and Bala just talked about this before. Neither of us have used it yet. Neither of us have seen a reason to use the Joy-Con grip controller. So I played the original Breath of the Wild all the way through with the Joy-Con grip controller because I didn't have a Pro controller. I didn't have a Pro controller at launch.
I jumped on the Pro controller much quicker than you. Is that what happened?
You had a Pro controller from the beginning, I want to say.
Very near, maybe. It was a Splatoon 2 themed one, so it must have come out around Splatoon 2, which was the first few months.
Right, so you would have had it that year, and as far as I recall, you were still playing Breath of the Wild at that point, so you would have probably played some of it with the Joy-Con grip and then some of it with the Pro controller. I thought it worked perfectly fine. Like I thought it was okay as a control scheme, and it did the job. It wasn't ideal because it's not a perfect like controller in your hand controller. What I did notice about the new Joy-Con grip is that because of the nature of the new Joy-Cons, instead of sliding them in with the way that the old one worked, it's the same kind of clacking thing, and so there's a weird flatness to the not the handles that you hold, but the handles themselves, the top of them, it's like they've just been sheared. There's like a flat surface to them so that the Joy-Cons can like...
The old one has that as well. I think it's just a smaller area that looks sheared.
It's different. It's different. If you go back to it, you'll notice it's not sheared in that exact way. It's definitely got it in a way that it can kind of like click into place and slide into place. But I do not remember it having that kind of sheer kind of flatness to it, which is what this one is like. And you know, I think I did put the Joy-Cons into it and I held it in my hand for a bit, but I've not played anything with it. I've not really used it in that way. So
I think it feels much better, and that's mainly because of the size of the new Joy-Cons versus the old ones. The old one felt fine. I played a decent chunk of games, including Breath of the Wild, before I had my Pro controller, I seem to remember. And yeah, the new one, like MZ said, I've not played any either, but it does feel better just because those Joy-Cons feel a bit better. Maybe a slight shame it still doesn't have like any charging functionality. Like your Joy-Con will just die if you only play in that mode, which is a little bit of a shame. But
right, I initially thought like maybe it does have that stuff because it had the lights on the side, but I don't think it does. I don't think it is a charging.
Yeah, it doesn't. And maybe if they wanted to really go above and beyond, they could have added those GL, GR buttons or whatever they're called. but equally they want reasons for you to buy a Pro Controller, including only the new Pro Controller having the ability to turn the thing on and off remotely, which just seems like...
Yes, as well as having a microphone jack, which, let me tell you, has been really, really helpful for me in my particular setup, because I play on a computer monitor. My PC monitor is what my Switch is hooked up to, and so what I would have to do in the past is take the microphone I'm recording into right now and plug it via USB into the Switch dock, and then use my headphones from this mic, basically routing the audio through my microphone so that I could play stuff on my PC monitor. Now I can just plug headphones directly into the Pro Controller and don't have to worry about any of that, which is a lot nicer and much more convenient.
I've been doing that on PlayStation for a long time, haven't we? It's just mad.
I know, yeah. It's
do you think the issue with turning the thing on is done on purpose as a bit of carrot and stick to get you to buy a Pro Controller, or is it just a complete Nintendo oversight and something they might patch in a year's time?
Never give Nintendo credit. I think they're idiots, basically. I think this is an oversight. I don't think that they thought about it, really. They were just like, yeah, well, we didn't do that, so... whoops. I think it's very, very stupid. But it does mobilize you. Or either that, or they're saying, you've got these new Joy-Cons, you just play those in your new Joy-Con grip controller that we have provided for you. So that's another way to do it, I guess.
I think it's frustrating because you ultimately want the Joy-Cons attached to your Switch to keep them charged, but my Switch is behind my television, so I'm basically in this weird, like, I could have the Joy-Cons with me and they can turn it on, turn my TV and Switch on for me, but then they're not charging. I guess the best halfway house is I use them to turn it on, and then I'm not using them, using the Pro Controller, and then they won't lose any charge because they're not actually being in use. I don't know. It's just stupid Nintendo issues, but
of course.
I agree. I think it's just complete oversight by them.
But however, Bally, as we learned from Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, they rounded the edges of the Switch 2 dock so that it's much easier for you to grab those Joy-Cons off the side without having to kind of like fumble with them. You can just hold the button and grab them off.
I will agree with them on that. I think the amount of real estate of Switch 2 that pokes out above and beyond the dock, I think is far greater than the amount of Switch 1 you see poking out of the dock. And I think as a result, as you say, that does make it easier to get those Joy-Cons out. So like that is nice. And it's fairly easy for me with my big long arms to reach over my TV, lean down, clip both release clips, pull the Joy-Cons off, and then sit down to play some Welcome to America or whatever, or just turn the thing on to use the Pro Controller. Like, it is very easy.
I feel like with Switch 1, I would always have, because of the nature of it, I'd always have to hold the screen and then do one at a time and just lift them off in order to take them off.
I can actually do two at once. You're right.
You can do two at once, and you can grab them, and there's no risk of anything happening. It's very easy to clip them off the side. So, definitely good in that sense, which is nice.
And then when you're putting them back on and you're kind of fishing your hand down the side and you're looking for it, it's like it just snaps in with the magnet. It like finds it for you almost. Like it's a lot easier.
Right. It's a lot easier, which is good.
It's nice.
So yeah, definitely a lot of quality of life features going on with the experience there, which is good. I guess let's start talking about the OS, Bally, because we haven't talked about the eShop, we haven't talked about the menus, the themes, all that sort of stuff. How do you feel? It's basically the same. There's not a lot of change here. How are you feeling about it?
It's nice. It runs faster. I'm glad it runs faster. I'm still convinced in 5 years' time this eShop will run slowly. I think that part of me would have liked more delineation between Switch 1 and Switch 2. It's like, this is the Switch 2 eShop. The only thing on this eShop are Switch 2 games. If I download, let's say, Celeste for the first time tomorrow on my Switch 2, I am downloading a Switch 1 version of that game. I'm not convinced the system will even tell me that, will it? Like, it's not...
Well, I'll have a great example for you, because I bought Deltarune, and I bought the Switch 1 version of Deltarune by accident. And I only realised that when I went onto the store and saw, oh, you could buy the Switch 2 version of Deltarune for free And I was like, what? I already own that. And then I realized, no, I don't. That's the Switch 2 version. So I then downloaded the Switch 2 version of Deltarune. So...
see, like, it's just... If you'd gone into a Switch 2 shop... Now, hands up, like, PlayStation made this exact same mistake. I feel like it's only Xbox who have, like, elegantly done this, where they've got,
Correct,
what's it called? Smart something. And they can basically read your mind and tell which version of the game you actually want you essentially want the best version of the game for the best system you've got. That's what Xbox assume.
Yeah.
And Nintendo and Sony are just like, I don't know, just bung it all together and hit and hope. And it's, I don't know. I feel like having a separate Switch 2 eShop would have just made your exact problem much easier. Now, for me, who's trying to buy something like Celeste, I wouldn't find Celeste on the Switch 2 eShop. I'd go into the Switch 1 eShop. But that would tell me I'm buying a Switch 1 game, not a Switch 2 game. So it benefits both parties. It just, I don't know. It's a little frustrating, but at the moment, it's very elegant. It works.
So there is a delineation here, right? When you go to the charts, for example, there is a Switch 2 charts and there is a Switch 1 chart. So it does delineate stuff there. Also, when you are scrolling through, every Switch 2 game has a little red banner with a 2 at the top of it.
Okay.
So it does tell you can delineate.
Yeah.
It's not kind of split up in a neat way in that same kind of like vein. So right now I'm looking at it. There's No Man's Sky and No Man's Sky Switch 2 Edition. They're both next to each other on the eShop, and Switch 2 Edition has the little red banner. So, so there is
good.
that to look out for.
Really good.
Which is helpful.
One thing I love about the Switch 2 eShop, this is something we discussed when we were saying like things we hope for from Nintendo. It was either in our predictions episode or just like a general hopes for the Switch 2 kind of discussion, of which we had many. We talked about how platforms like Amazon, Netflix, they're really good at amalgamating all your favorite things and then using algorithms and other things to kind of shove other suggested shows in your face to say, you watched this, therefore you will like this. And we thought it was mad that this didn't happen more in the games industry, and in this case,
Correct,
Nintendo.
yeah.
It's like Nintendo knows exactly all the things I've bought in the entirety of the Switch 1 life cycle. Why can't they just shove my data into an algorithm and then tell me what I want to buy? And that's exactly what they've done with this For You banner in the
game
eShop.
recommendations.
Recommendations. And apparently it changes once a week, and it'll give you, I think, 10 games or something. And I had a bunch of games that I would genuinely consider buying, like Baba Is You, Return of the Obra Dinn. A lot of them were very puzzle themed, and I was like, do I play that many puzzle games? But anyway, my point is, it shoved a bunch of games in my face I would genuinely consider buying and playing, and it's a very small thing. I don't think that I'm going to use it necessarily. I'm always going to have heard of the majority of the games it shoves in my face, but for people who aren't listening to 20 game podcasts a week like we are, MBZ, and aren't following all these things and following all the latest releases, I think it's a really, really good feature that just allows people who aren't that engaged with the industry to just be like, hey, that game looks cool, that trailer looks interesting, oh, that game's on sale, let's give it a go. I think it's a really good feature.
And I was initially worried about this, if it's like, oh, it's just going to give you first-party Nintendo games or like famous games or well-known stuff. And that kind of was the case for the first week, but week 2, I got served some stuff where I was like, oh, I've not heard of this and it looks kind of cool. Like, there's a game called A Robot Named Fight. And this game is like Contra meets Metroid. Like, it has a Super Metroid look to it. It looks really nice, good pixel art. Like, it's £10 on the eShop. I don't know, I might bung that on my wish list and pick it up when it's on sale. Like, that's a really cool thing, and I wouldn't have discovered that had Nintendo not had this new system. And there's multiple games like that, right? They are actually really honing in on a thing here. They've served me like Rogue Legacy, which obviously I've already played, but it knows that's kind of my taste, which is nice. Momodora, which I played on Steam, but again, to my taste. Like, they are giving me things, and some things on sale as well, like Guacamelee it's recommending to me, obviously right on my alley. It's on sale for $2.99 right now. So like, I feel like the further this goes on, also the more that you play on Switch and the more that you kind of shape your own taste, hopefully this kicks in even more and helps to surface things that people wouldn't otherwise see because they're just buried under heaps and heaps of garbage in the eShop. Ideally, like, I do think once a week for 10 games is just a little too infrequent for my personal kind of taste. But again, I'm a power user. I'm someone who wants to see lots of stuff all the time. And the way that Steam does it is far more frequent, right? Steam has your discovery queue. You can go through it as many times as you want, and it will keep serving you recommendations again and again and again.
I don't think normies are going in on the Switch eShop more than once a week.
No, definitely not. So I do think that for the purposes of it, it probably does work. But it would be nice if they pushed it a little bit further and they were like, okay, we'll serve you 10 games, but do you want to roll another 10 games? Like, if they gave you the option to be like, oh, those are cool, but there's nothing on sale right now that's in that group. Roll me a second 10 games of recommendations. Like, yeah, I think that would be a nice addition to it. And hopefully they continue to push on this and see. We'll see how successful it is. If it is successful and they see that they're selling more games as a result of this thing, then I hope they improve it and add even more stuff to it, because it's a really cool system. My one annoyance with it is every time you click on it, you have to skip through all the fucking games in order to get to the menu with all of them. It's like, if I viewed it once, just take me to the menu straight away, you know? Like, that's the sort of thing that's a little annoying about it. But, you know, I can't be mad at Nintendo for trying to fix a major problem across all game consoles. Like, it is such a big issue, people not being able to find or surface games that they would otherwise be interested in. So yeah, it's really good. Shout out to the wish list. So the wish list was obviously a thing that we both used on Switch. It was less functional just because the slowness of the Switch eShop.
It just got too slow. Yeah, it's nice that it's so snappy again.
And so, really cool thing, they now have a tab called On Sale, so you click that and it just surfaces every game that's on sale, and then you can sort it by price, low to high. So every time you go into the eShop, you can quickly get in there, see what's on sale, and then sort by price, and you just immediately...
Of your wish list or general games?
No, of your wish list.
Of your wish list,
like, you
that's
can
great.
sort your wish list low to high, so you can do that. You can sort your wish list by newest game or oldest added to the wish list. Like, you can...
It's like someone at Nintendo actually went on Steam or something. It's actually remarkable.
It's crazy, because this is pretty much how Steam works in terms of its wish list, where you can order it by discount, you can order it... Steam actually orders it by percentage discount and then by regular price as well, which is nice, and I wouldn't expect Nintendo to go that far, but price low to high with sale games... Like, it's a revelation. It's like, oh, wow, maybe I don't just use Deku deals anymore. Maybe I can just go on the eShop to see what's on my wish list that's on sale. And I think also, because a lot of games feel like they are getting kind of updates, or like they're running a little better on Switch 2, I am, again, being like, well, maybe I do buy it on Switch 2, which kind of goes into a question that Matraya is asking, which is perhaps a little early, but do you guys see the Switch 2 being your main gaming system for the next few years? I know the Switch fell behind other platforms for you both in recent years. Curious if the Switch 2 will be your primary console moving forwards. And I would say, I mean, console, yes, 100%. I mean, I would say the Switch was always my primary console. I'm a PC person, first and foremost. But in terms of console I would go to, it would always be the Switch. It would just, I would play less stuff on the Switch as opposed to PC in recent years. But now I'm definitely, like, I bought Luminous Remastered the other day because it was on sale for £4. And I was like, oh shit, that's a game that just got a new thing announced for it at Summer Game Fest. I thought that looked cool, and I was like interested. I should play the original Luminous. I saw it was on sale for £4 on Switch. I was like, well, I have no qualms anymore about buying games on Switch, especially a game like that, which does seem like it ran great on the original anyway. But you know, I'm like, it feels like any new indie game or any new smaller game coming to Switch 2, I now don't really have a choice to make anymore. I'll just buy it on here because of just my form factor kind of preference. I just like the Switch 2's form factor more than the Steam Deck. And I love my Steam Deck.
You wouldn't go Steam so you can swap between Steam Deck and your PC?
Here's the thing that I found, Bally, that is true, is I don't actually do that.
You just
buy
play
a game
on the handheld.
And I either play it only on Steam Deck or I play it only on my PC.
Right.
It's very rare that I actually switch between the two. Like, I'm playing Spelunky right now. I'm exclusively playing that on Steam Deck. I've never booted up UFO 50 on my PC. I only play UFO 50 on my Steam Deck, right? There are certain games where I'll only play them on Steam Deck, and there are certain games like Elden Ring where I'll only play it on my main PC, right? Like, it's just the way that it's fitted into my life is like, I am not jumping back and forth that frequently. And there will be rare exceptions where that does happen, but it doesn't happen that often. And again, the Switch is the same thing. Like, I can play it handheld and I can also put it on a screen. So, like, I can get the best of both worlds either way I feel. But for me, like I said, my form factor preference is the Switch 2. Like, it's just a really nice form factor. I prefer the smaller analog sticks, I've said many times before. obviously, D-pad situation, not ideal, but I've gotten used to it over the years now, and it's not like a deal breaker necessarily. So yeah, I do see myself coming back to Switch for smaller games a lot more frequently, because I don't have that worry anymore that they're going to run badly. And I think that was the key problem with the Switch 1, was eventually we got to a point where I'm like, it's just going to be a worse experience because it won't run as well, you know? And now, you know, I played the Steam Next Fest demo for Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I'm buying that on Switch too. I'm 100% buying that on Switch too. Of course I am, because it's perfect for that system. So, yeah, stuff like that is definitely swinging my opinion. How about you?
I've discussed on the show how I track games I'm interested in. I use a combination of Deku deals and following sort of Steam sales and Steam wish lists. Annoyingly, Steam isn't updated through Deku deals. That's a bit of a shame.
Well, it's because they don't need to be, because they're a functional website. So.
Well, that's also true. So yeah, I kind of follow the money and go where the platform is the cheapest, so it'll track.
Right, didn't you buy Cult of the Lamb because it was like £2 cheaper on PlayStation or something?
Yeah, and I enjoyed playing that game on PlayStation. Like, it was good. Like, I don't really mind playing between Steam Deck, Xbox, PlayStation, or now in this case Switch 2. I will maybe plan a bit ahead if I know I'm going on holiday somewhere or going somewhere. That's quite rare at the moment. While I have 2 young kids, I don't travel quite as much as I was traveling before. So, and in terms of form factor, and I said when I unboxed the Switch 2, I'm still, me and Jordan Midler over here, we've got the big hands. We like the Steam Deck. I like the chunks that stick out. I like the big gain on the swing on the analog sticks. Like, I do like big analog sticks. So, in terms of form factor, I'm still leaning more towards Steam Deck over Switch 2. However, I'd still like to play this shiny new thing. I do think the Switch 2 screen is bigger than the Steam Deck, so that's one selling point.
It is, yeah.
Honestly, I'll probably follow the money because I still really like my Steam Deck, and it's probably going to be cheaper on Steam more often than not. But if it's a game that might benefit from the bigger screen, and I've obviously got the advantage with Switch of playing between handheld and console, I might lean towards Switch 2. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out in practice. But I do switch quite drastically between consoles. And there's always the games that, you know, just appear on Game Pass, and I think to myself, I'll just buy a couple of months of Game Pass and then end up playing it on Series X. So, like, it's not a simple system for me. It's quite complicated. I just follow where's cheapest and where I fancy, really. And I think Switch 2 will just play into that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah. Any other things about the system software that has stood out to you?
I think that it was just all really smooth, and you always go into these situations with a company like Nintendo just kind of holding on for dear life, hoping that they've actually nailed all this, because you don't want to lose save files, you don't want to lose games that you've obviously bought and spent loads of hours putting time into, and you also don't want it to take too long. You don't want it to break mid-switch and then you lose games because the data's corrupted or something and you feel like Nintendo have messed up. I think it transferred everything I wanted to transfer in, I don't know, half an hour or something. It was just really quick, really seamless. And then, yes, I manually had to, like, say, don't download every single thing and then do it manually. But I think it was really smooth and surprising that a company like Nintendo managed to pull it off. Like, I think it's all pretty easy breezy, and that's not something you think about with Nintendo.
Yeah. I feel so there's a few interesting things that I found that are quite cool. So they have updated the Switch app. It's now not the Switch Online app anymore. Now it's the Nintendo Switch app. And you can set it so that any screenshots you take, any videos you take, will auto-upload to your Switch app, which means that whenever you want to post something on social media, you can just open that app and it's all there for you immediately. You don't even have to manually upload it. And if you do want to manually upload, if you take a screenshot and then immediately press the home button, it goes straight into that screenshot. Like, it knows that you've just taken a screenshot, and it knows that you want to just immediately upload it. And I'm like, wow, that is a really nice thing, a nice quality of life change they've made that is smart, that makes a lot of sense. And I've used it a few times already, which is very, very good. So I like that. I think that's great. There's been a step back in some ways. So, Bally, obviously we have issues with the way Nintendo tracks time, and, you know, they perfected it with the 3DS and decided to go backwards every since then, just every step of the way making a worse experience. But there was a hack turnaround that you could do on the Switch 1, which was if you had a second Switch account and you added yourself as a friend on it, you could go to that account and you could look at the trending with your friends.
Right.
And because you only had one friend who was yourself, you could see how many hours you'd played of a game before Nintendo's 10-day timer elapsed.
So stupid.
Fucking insanity, yes.
We're still on the goddamn 10-day timer. It's insane.
We are. However, there is a way to get through it, which is if you play more than 10 hours, it will start showing it, which is why when I don't know why, but as soon as I hit 10 hours in Mario Kart World, it disappeared from like, this was played 6 days ago, and it suddenly said...
I think I've played way less than 10 hours, so I'm aware.
Yeah, you must have done, so it's not showing up for you yet, actually. Yeah, it says first played 8 days ago still for you, but mine says played 10 hours. I look at some people on my friends list, I'm like, okay, so how much have they played? Oh, first played 7 days ago. Oh, played 15 hours. So as soon as you hit the 10-hour mark, that 10-day thing gets overwritten, which is weird.
But does it still go up in fives?
It still goes up in fives, yeah. But as I was saying, the trending with friends tab that you could use to sneakily check within the 10-day limit is gone. It's just gone now. So I can't see anything trending with friends, so I can't do anymore. However, if you do play more than 10 hours within the first 10 days, then you will see it, and then it will be... It's just... it's so fucking stupid. And it drives me up the goddamn wall. And I hate it. That said... At least it tracks your time when you're on an airplane, because for fuck's sake, like this is actually the main reason I will start playing Switch more than Steam Deck.
Oh my
because
God.
Steam Deck doesn't track your offline hours, and it drives me up a fucking wall. So yes, Switch 2 much better because it actually tracks my fucking hours properly, even though it doesn't tell me my exact hours. Can you tell I have a problem? We all have a problem. But
mad.
Mine is worse than most.
Shall we do our last question on the hardware?
Let's do it.
This question's from Hey Raf says, do you think this iPhoneization of the platform is the right approach for Nintendo? So we're going to pick up the Switch 3 next year and then the Switch 4 the year after. But no, I get the point.
I feel like it's a little early to make that assumption, right? Because this is a first step for them to do something like this. And I do like to think that Nintendo are not going to rest on their laurels, right? Like, I just feel like, could they do a Switch 3? Yes, absolutely. They definitely could. Does the Nintendo I know do something like that? It doesn't feel like it to me. And I feel like the way that we have perspective on things is not the way Nintendo has perspective on things, right? Like, we look at this and we're like, they're going down the Apple route and they're just going to do iteration, right? It's the same way, and we'll get to this question when we talk about Mario Kart, that me and you are like, sure makes sense for them to go in Smash Brothers route and bring all the Smash Brothers characters in. That's not how Nintendo thinks. That is not Nintendo's brain. Their brain is so different from our brain. It's in another universe. So thinking, they're just going to keep...
Welcome Tour is a perfect example. Look at Welcome Tour. Like, whose idea was that?
100%.
Like, how is that a thing?
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any... Like, the fact that you charge for that thing, it is mind-bogglingly stupid, right? And so to think like, Nintendo, they've done an iteration. Now they'll just be like iPhone and they'll just do the same thing. Wrong, stupid, not going to happen. This is not how this company works. It's not what they do. And if it does happen, then, I mean, that's very sad for me, because I think that kind of loses the magic of what Nintendo is. But I really do not believe in that at all. I do not think that's the route we're going down. I do not think they're going to sit on their laurels like that. So I do feel like it's an interesting thing for this generation in particular. And I think for this platform, yes, makes perfect sense, because they've done this too many times where they've had a successful generation, they followed it up with too much of a weird thing, and it has gone wrong for them. And so they needed to stay the course here. They needed to do what was right and most successful, and it's their most successful console all time, so you should be safe about it and follow it up with a safe successor. And also, like, it feels like there isn't a reason yet, technologically, or like the way we play games, for them to shake it up. There's no reason to switch the boat up yet. There will be in the future, and I almost guarantee there will be a way in which they say, this is a new way to play, and we're going to go in this direction. But I think it was the right decision for this platform today. Will it be the same in 8 years? I really don't think so.
I agree. Right decision today. Probably not in 8 years, but we shall see. I do think Nintendo, and this must be Furukawa-led, I do think they do follow trends a lot more now than they have done in the last 20 years. And I think another great example of this is the Mario film and the future Zelda film that has been delayed, by the way, because Nintendo were not the first to do a video game movie. I mean, video game movies have been around a long time, but arguably the character that has gone on to do gangbusters at the cinema before Mario did was Sonic, and like those films were very successful. Obviously they weren't completely animated in the same way the Mario movie is, but Nintendo was definitely smelling a trend in that direction. Same with theme parks, and obviously it's linked because it's through Universal,
right?
But
what I will say is that those things were the genesis of them was still under Iwata's leadership, and the reason for them was not the same reason that they exist today. Their initial reason was, oh shit, we have a failing platform. We need to expand ourselves so that we don't
diversify. Yeah.
So we have to diversify, right? Exactly, in order to stay stable and safe and continue to exist as a company. At this point, it is an extension of their reach. It's an extension of their already strong, solid success in the console space. It's doing more of that, but they did start those initiatives under Iwata,
yes.
So it was a thing that he was kind of shepherding. So
it took a long time to get the wheels spinning, for sure. Arguably longer than it took for the Sega wheels to get spinning with the Sonic film. Arguably, it's a long time coming. You're right, and it's definitely Iwata led initially. Another thing that we've said before is Nintendo always have a foot in the door when it comes to having the ability to throw mad shit at the wall, and the Switch is a perfect example of that. When you look at stuff like what am I thinking of? Ring Fit Adventure and Labo and things like this. There is enough wiggle room, like the Switch One, where they can do crazy shit, and the mouse functionality is a perfect example of that. I think it is fascinating that, and I want your opinion on this, MBZ. I think it's okay. Let's talk about Switch 2 owners by the end of its life cycle. Life cycle is a bad example. Let's say by the end of the first year and a half, 2 years of its existence, I'm convinced 80% of users of the Switch 2 do not even know that this thing has mouse functionality, because the only time I've used it so far was within Welcome Tour, and I don't think the console does much to egg you on to mention the mouse. There was a pop-up in the menu about the mouse only after I had used the mouse in Welcome Tour. And why I'm mentioning the mouse is because I think it leaves the door open for them to do the crazy shit. And obviously they've got that, what's the wheelchair basketball game called?
Dragon Drive.
Really hard name to remember. So yeah, games like that. I think there'll be more games like that, and I do think I have every faith in Nintendo that one of those will be a bit like Ring Fit Adventure and stick and do very well and become a system seller. I don't think Dragon Drive will be that game, but I'm just intrigued that I think that the mouse functionality is very under the radar right now, and I just think the vast majority of Switch 2 owners don't even know it exists, and that's fine. I just think it's important that it's there for the future when they want to do the crazy stuff, because like we've said before, it gives them that they always know that there's just this open mainstream normie market that lapped up games like Wii Sports, that they know that if they hit it right they can really appeal to, and Switch 2 is no different. They've left the door open
for sure. Cool. Should we can take a break and then come back and talk Mario Kart?
What very quickly, what percentage of Switch 2 owners do you think know about the mouse?
Don't they make you use it in the opening when they're setting up the system? I thought they made you use it in that. Do they not make you use it when you're setting the system up?
I want to say they don't. I'd be interested in what others think. I'm pretty sure they don't.
Yeah. I'd say
assuming they don't, do you think, what number do you think?
Probably 50%. I think there's definitely... Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely a group of people who don't go online or see anything and will not know that exists. There's so the Switch, the Steam Deck OLED has a case that has a case within the case. It's a travel case that's inside the case, right? And two of my colleagues, they both have Steam Decks, and we were on the train to Rotterdam, to Eurostar, to TwitchCon, and I was like, oh, you're not using the travel case? And they were like, What do you mean? And I grabbed their big case and I ripped the travel case outside of it because it's Velcro to the inside. And they were both like, "What? That exists inside this thing I own?" They had no idea, which was very funny. But yes, I think there are people like that with things like the mouse control where they will.
But I'm talking about like normies. You're talking about people who work in video games. So
Who work for a game publisher who didn't know.
But that is wild that even people who work for a video game company or a publisher, I should say, didn't know about that. That is very funny.
Right. Yeah. So okay, maybe it is 80%
right. That's what I think,
you're making a good point. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, we can definitely talk about the mouse when it comes to Welcome Tour, because that is the main reason I've been using it, I would say. But let's take a break and we'll come back and talk about the video games. We'll see you in a bit. All right, everybody, welcome back to the second part of today's show. It's time to talk about the video games on the Nintendo Switch 2. And there's a couple, but there's one, obviously, that most people have been playing, most people have been talking about the most. So of course, Welcome Tour, baby. No. Fucking, we're so Welcome
We've been
Tour.
Podcasting too long.
I think we are the only podcast who's going to put Welcome Tour in a top 10 at the end of the year. I'm just going to stake my claim on it, all right? I know Ben Hansen's out here being like, well, I think it could be in a top 10. But, we're the realist podcasters. We'll do the correct thing, which is to put it in a top 10. It'll get it. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it. Anyway, Mario Kart World is the new hotness. Everybody's talking about it. And we have some thoughts on Mario Kart World. I feel like we have had evolving thoughts on Mario Kart World. I've been up, I've been down, I've been down, I've been up, I've been left, I've been right. And I still don't know where I land on this game, if I'm truly honest. I've probably played 12 hours of it, something, the last week or so, which is definitely not enough for a Mario Kart game to really get a full understanding of it.
I think I'm about half of that, maybe 6-7 hours, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of put a firm stake in the ground with it, but I think that everything that I was worried was going to be true about this game after that direct presentation turned out to be true, which is to say that I think it has disappointed me greatly, but I'm still kind of enjoying it, and I think that's kind of where I'm at with Mario Kart World, which is, I've never been the biggest Mario Kart fan in the world, obviously. Bally is the Mario Kart person on this podcast, has always been much more into the series than me, always beats me every single time, all that good stuff. Although in Mario Kart World, I have a very good record.
Got a good lead on me now.
But I think, yes, I'm disappointed with it. I think I'm very frustrated by it in the sense that it could have been so much more. But, I was playing Free Roam today, and just going around and listening to a podcast, and I'm like, this is chill. This is nice. This is nice, just kind of roaming around, not really having any objective, just going and doing some P switches and finding some coins and stuff. Like, it's okay. Like, it's a good, relaxing time. But there's lots of things to dig into. Bally, where are you sitting with it right now?
Very similar thoughts. Traditionally, you're right. I am a Mario Kart person. I'm not sure I would define myself as one now. I don't know. But the final few years of Mario Kart 8 and this game so far, I'm like, yeah, it's good. I'm having a good time. But this is not the most fun I've ever had. Like I still think there are more enjoyable online experiences for sure and stuff like that. And I agree with you. It's all about what it could have been. I think that on the surface, when this game was first presented to us, I was very convinced that this was a real big evolution step up from Mario Kart 8. And I just don't think it is. I think that they've done the hard part of creating a really cool, interesting, intertwined open world with some thematically gorgeous locations, some really cool tracks, some really, like, it just looks like a lived-in Mario Mushroom Kingdom world. It looks amazing. Like, I think it's so cool. Where I think the game's lacking is what they've done with that open world. So, for example, all these other open world driving games, they have loads of missions, and they have, like, correct me if I'm wrong, is there a map of the open world, or is it just the...
So there is a map insofar as it's an abstracted view of the whole world where you can fast travel, and it also tells you how many question marks have you done in this spot and stuff like that. But it's
mega zoomed out though, that map, right? Like,
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a abstracted version of the world map. It is not a detailed version in that you can zoom out the whole thing and see where you are relative to other stuff.
Yeah.
The only way you can see where you are relative to stuff is the small mini map, which I will say is one of the best mini maps I have ever seen in any game.
One of the best. It's very cool.
Just like astonishingly detailed and well put together, and like would be incredible and would be super helpful in a game where you needed to use it more, where the objectives made like a thing that you would want to go and do. But it does, again, it's another thing that feels wasted. Like, it's an incredible minimap that feels wasted on a game that doesn't really need to use it, you know?
I just, maybe it's the Forza Horizon in me. I need a map I can zoom in and out of and see missions and check off boxes and do missions. I am so frustrated that it is so vague about these peach coins and P switches and other question mark blocks.
The crazy thing is like, I could walk into Nintendo today and be like, you do this and you do this and you do this, and all of a sudden it's one of the best games ever made. And it's so fucking crazy to me that you can just make some very easy choices, such as, okay, I'm driving around the world. Ooh, I made it to the DK track near the sea. Oh, there's a race here going on. Oh, I have to participate in this race. Okay, and then you do the race, and then you get a reward for doing that race, like a costume unlock or something, that isn't, or character that isn't tied to randomly being hit by a fucking item.
Yeah, it's...
you know, like there's a reward kind of loop here of like, oh, I went to the DK stage, I get an outfit for DK based on that stage, and now he looks like old DK and stuff like that. Like, there is such an easy open fucking goal here. I can design it by just writing on a fucking piece of paper. And that is the thing that like kills me about this game. Is it is so fucking easy to see how you can make this a compelling open world experience that has things to do, things to check off, ways to experience the world and experience the tracks in a way that introduces you to them, makes you learn them, but then has it being a seamless integrated part of the open world. What if one of the races is to go from one track to the next one and they do it like an individual burst? Like, this is the thing that Forza Horizon figured out so long ago, which is having all these little mini objectives, mini races within the world. It doesn't matter if the course that you do is not that memorable, because that's not what it's about. And yet Mario Kart has the advantage of, like, you can have memorable courses in here, so you could take that and also have things that people remember. It is infuriating.
It's so frustrating, and that's really looking at the game from like a single player. How do you make a mission mode using this open world? And they have dropped the ball so massively on that. It is so frustrating because, like I said, I think the hard part is to create this really cool, beautiful world. It looks like Disney World in there. It is so
it's
cool.
Amazing.
There's some such good like icons around the like, what am I trying to say, landmarks that you can just see from miles off that look so cool, like Peach's Castle, and you see like Rainbow Road is really cool in this game. Like, there's some really
and the way that they do it is really cool as well, you know, like the lead up to it.
There's like this secret thing in the clouds. Like, it's done so well, but then to just drop the ball on this open world stuff, and like, why is there no co-op local open world mode?
Right.
Like, it's really, really simple stuff, and I just think that I think I don't know. I've not watched enough reviews. It's enough reviews are holding Nintendo's feet to the fire on this stuff, but it's pretty depressing. That's this kind of like I would have hoped single player would be better kind of rant I want to have. I also think the online just feels very lacking. Like there's versus race, there's the knockout tour, and there's like battle mode, and there's like join a room with friends kind of thing, or like start up a room. That's it. Like I'm not saying I need seasons and things, but the Mario Kart Wii had weekly missions at one point that you could go in, and it was like almost like a single player campaign, and you could do races. You would do like a challenge, get a time on that challenge, and that time on that challenge would be compared to the rest of the world, and that would change weekly. It was just a great reason to go check in with the game again and again. Now, that's my main issue with the online. It's just there's no structure. Yes, it's fun to race against you, MBZ. It's fun to race against the community. That is fun in and of itself. But and sure, you can build up points that don't seem to lead to anything, and that's exactly the same as Mario Kart 8. But there's no tangible thing. There's no costumes you can get or anything else, or season pass, or I'm not saying I need a season pass, but I need like some sort of structure. And I can accept it for just not having structure, and these tracks are great fun, and I will just do that occasionally, and that's fine. But that's not an evolution of Mario Kart. I could do that with Mario Kart 8 tomorrow. Like, I don't understand what's the new thing. Yes, Knockout Tour is cool. I like the way that the tracks link together. Sometimes I maybe have less of a grievance with the tracks linking than you do, MBZ, but I still have all these other grievances with this game that I'm just like so frustrated by. And it's really, really sad, because I think this game could have been a real evolution of the franchise. And now, hands up, maybe Nintendo can fix 50% of these issues we've talked about through updates and downloadable stuff. I'm just not convinced, because we know how stubborn Nintendo can be.
Yep.
It's so juxtaposed to the launch of the Switch 1 with the launch of Breath of the Wild. And you think to yourself, Nintendo had never done a true open world game before, and then they go and make the best open world game that's ever been created, and then they do the complete opposite with Mario Kart, where I think Forza Horizon just shits all over what this game is going for. It's wild.
Like, yeah, it is like they don't understand what makes a game like this appealing, and it is almost like they looked at Breath of the Wild and they were like, oh, right, well, the good thing about that was we didn't tell anybody anything, and you just figured stuff out on your own, and there was, but like, the reason that works is because of the fundamental way that game is built, and it feels like they tried to apply that logic, that thinking, to a game where it just doesn't work. It can't work in that same way, because you're bound to a vehicle. Like, it's not structured, and it can't be structured in the same way. So, yeah, it is definitely the most infuriating thing. I think on the question of like the online stuff, I think there's a few specifics we can get into. Just like joining somebody for a race, is a nightmare.
Oh, God's sake, yeah.
We can't do Knockout Tour online together unless we open a lobby in which it's just me and you and then 22 CPUs, right?
Yeah.
That's not how I want to play Knockout Tour. I want to jump online.
That feels more like something they could fix with an update, or there might have been teething problems.
Potentially, but like, we tried so long to try and get into a Knockout Tour together, and it never let us. It just didn't let us play together in Knockout Tour. Just infuriating. It's just like, this is the main mode, this is what I want to play, and I want me and my friend to do it with other people, with other real people, and they don't let you, right? Like, what's the easiest way to do this? Just create a fucking lobby, right? Just have a lobby. We're both in the lobby. We both join Knockout Tour at the same time. Hey, we're both playing Knockout Tour. Can't do it. Doesn't exist. Not a thing in Mario Kart. Insane. Just, that's absolutely crazy to me. Yeah, the other thing is, I was hopeful that we could do regular races, like 3-lap races, if you went online and you're like, I'm going to do versus online, right? And we'll do 3-lap races. Nope, it's not how it works. Online,
you can do them.
You
can do them.
Yes, and I was going to get
right.
You can do them, but you have no choice about how you do them, and it's always a luck of the draw. So here's how it works. When you are online, you are still in the open world. You're in free roam mode, and you're waiting for a match to start. But the race is going to be around the perimeter of where you basically are in that world. That's where they will kind of drop you for the online portion, is based on where you currently are in free roam. They'll find a lobby associated with where your location is, and they'll start you on a race there, and then the next time you'll vote on the next one, and the next one will usually be a race that is close by, and so you have to do the traditional...
It's linking up. You are going point to point around the world gradually.
Yeah. Exactly, you're slowly going point to point
on the next point.
However, sometimes the algorithm gods will bless you with a choice, and that choice is to go to a place that is so far away that you can't connect to it. It's a different map on the other side of the world. Now, if everyone chooses that, and that is the one that gets chosen, then you do a regular race. And that is the only time online with random people.
There's one more caveat to that. You can click random. And if the random generates a race that is, as you say, far away, then it will give you the 3 laps of that race. Yeah.
Correct.
Which is a little more likely than what you described, but not great.
Not great odds. So the only way online against random people that you can do regular traditional Mario Kart is for the luck gods to flip a coin.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time you're just doing the point-to-point race.
I think also the fact that it is so everyone votes and then it's a randomizer between the votes is just wild. Why can't we have democracy? Why can't the track that's been voted the most just be the track? Like it's the fact they kept that from Mario Kart 8 just really grates on me.
It's a classic Nintendo move. Like they keep things for no reason other than we did it that way. That's it. That's what Nintendo do. They just keep things that are bad because they've always done it that way, and they're like, well, that doesn't need to change. It's pure madness. So yeah, I think it's a lot of frustrations vented. Definitely, there's a lot of annoying stuff in this game. It looks fucking amazing. It's a really good looking game.
The world is so cool. I think stuff like Boo Cinema and Peach Circuit and like these like the DK Spaceport, they are so well designed. There's so much moving stuff. There's so incredible design. I am really impressed by the track design generally. I do think that the skill ceiling on this game seems to be very high, where you can like basically hop onto any wall and then trick off any wall onto another wall and keep trying to wall jump basically. There's certain areas on certain tracks where that works really well. I still really need to try and master that, like trying to work out grind rails and getting all these mini boosts. I sent you the most bizarre video about how the coins work in this game. I'm not even going to try and explain it here, but go and look it up if you want to know. It is not that. It's not. I used to just think it was a case of the more coins you have, the higher your top speed will be. Now, what I've just said is not wrong, but there's a way that it scales that is bizarre.
It scales based on the heaviness of your cart and the top speed of your cart and stuff like that. That's mad. It's absolutely mad, yeah. So,
like, Toad and lightweight characters, they will reach higher top speeds faster based on the number of coins they have, faster than your heavyweight DKs, and so they will reach their top speeds. Now, I've not explained that properly, but ultimately, if you want the highest top speed, you still need to go for the heavy, high top speed characters, but their way of getting there is much slower than you might think. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, the skill ceiling is high. That's cool. I look forward to getting better at this game. And yeah, I just need to sometimes put my issues to the side and just say, this is some goddamn good Mario Kart, because it really genuinely is, and it feels so fresh. I like the point to point a lot more than you do, I think, MBZ, and I was just going from versus race to versus race to versus race last night with a podcast in. All I'm gaining is points. I'm not actually progressing anything, but I'm just having a good time listening to podcasts. And like, this is nice. Like, this is cool. I'm enjoying this like animal course and then the dinosaur course.
Yeah.
Dino. Like, these are really cool courses.
I do agree with you to some extent. I think it's just the thing that saddens me is like, it feels like before when I played Mario Kart, I was actively thinking every time I was like, I could listen to stuff and do it at the same time, but I was always knowing like this course in my head, and I know what this course has and what's coming up. And I feel like with the point-to-point stuff, I am just going in a straight line so often that like all thoughts leave my head. Like I don't remember any of these races. I don't have any thoughts about these races. They all feel very similar to one another in terms of...
Because I'm starting to learn them in my head gradually. They're getting there.
See, that the thing that doesn't make sense to me of learning them is that when you're playing online, you're always going from a different point to a different point, and so there's no way to learn, and because you're always starting from one point to a different point, right? Like, I guess the only way to learn them would be doing the Grand Prix again and again, because that route is always set, right? You're always going to go from that one to that one. But when you're playing online, there's no memorization, because like there could be, okay, so choose one course, there could be 5 different courses you go to, and going to those courses from that one is a different route from going from that course to this one. And
but there are aspects of that the more you play versus mode, you can learn. For example, the road going into Bowser's Castle is the same as the road going out of Bowser's Castle. And there's a number of tracks where you do notice, all right, the road going into this place is the same as the road going out. You're literally going on the same road backwards. And that's not always the case, but where that's been the case, I have learned, all right, that's how that links up. And then there's an area in the kind of the south of the map that's just water, and it kind of links up DK Spaceport and Koopa Troopa Beach, and predominantly you're going across, as the crow flies, a straight bit of water to get between certain points. So I'm not saying that's memorable, I'm just saying you can kind of work out how they do it in certain parts of the course, and the more you do those races, I do stand by, you will learn them. And I'm ultimately, as you say, I'm learning these tracks at probably a third of the rate I would, because I'm going around the loop in the end once rather than 3 times. I get that. Yeah, and
I guess you could argue that's a higher skill ceiling in that case, because there's so many more variants to master as a result of having that. I guess the other point to this is just like, well, does it matter if you learn them or not? Because they're all basically a fucking straight line, right? Like, and I know that people are saying that like in a meme capacity, but it is kind of true. Like, I do find that those first laps going to a course, I am not really absorbing or paying attention, because especially if you're in first place, you don't have to do anything. Someone on Discord sent a speed run through of one of the courses, and it's just like, it's kind of depressing watching it, of like, oh yeah, no, this is
they're not snaking or drifting or
no.
I agree with you on the wider open spaces. I do agree with you. I think that most of the point-to-points that are stronger and are in a straight line, there's one with like this ridiculously long Japanese-style bridge, and there's so many jumps and things, and there's ways of progressing faster, and there's certain speed boosts on certain areas. You're constantly weaving in and out. So while I agree if you're just doing like a speed run, it might look quite dull, I do think when you're racing against other racers, you're obviously trying to slipstream players, you're trying to do all these things.
Sure, you're dealing with all the items.
You're dealing with a lot more. Like I agree.
So chaotic.
Yeah, it is so chaotic, and like I think that, you know, it's not perfect. I'm not trying to say that, but I don't think it's quite as dry as you've said all the time. Some aspects of this world, I agree, are a bit more dry than others, but I think that for the most part, I'm still quite busy on those parts, trying to take advantage.
Yeah, I guess like the navigation around other players is the kind of skill there, right? Like the skill is like, there's so much crazy shit happening on this straightaway that I need to pay attention to everybody else to maneuver around them, and that's where the focus changes, as opposed to, you know, knowing the corners and knowing the turns and stuff like that, which I appreciate. I don't
Shall we have a question about the future of Mario Kart?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Questions from Acerbis says, since the dawn of this podcast, the sages MZ and Bally have spoken, nay, prophesized about a singular great moment that was just around the corner. It seemed inevitable. We were right on the precipice of it happening, but a decade has passed and we seem to be further away from the smashification of Mario Kart than ever before. Which leads me to my question. How did Stingby the Bee make it into Mario Kart before Samus?
Also, if that character is actually called Stingby the Bee, Jesus fucking Christ. That's... Oh boy. Yeah, like, it is weird, isn't it? It is a strange thing, and this is what I was talking about in the previous, section of like...
Nintendo don't do the logical thing most of the time.
No, they don't think the way regular people think. Like, you look at it and you think like, this makes sense. They're going towards something here. They're adding other characters in. That must mean the next one, they're going to go all the way, and it's going to become a celebration of Nintendo and not just Mario. And Nintendo look at that and they're like, oh no, that was just a thing we did for Mario Kart 8 because that was the Mario Kart 8 game, and in the Mario Kart 8 game, we decided to have the DLC for the Mario Kart 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that, quickly. I've seen, it must be sponsored content by IGN, but they've got like a few YouTube shorts where they say in the YouTube short Mario Kart game, and I think it must be a Nintendo sponsored thing through IGN, and they insist
Nintendo
on
have
them
told
saying
them they have to say
exactly
the Mario
and it
Kart
sounds
World
so
game.
ridiculous. It's so frustrating. Anyway, rant over.
Yes. Anyway, that's how their brains work, and they're like, no, that was just for that Mario Kart 8 thing. Now we're doing a different thing now, and we're just gonna ignore the whole idea of even bringing other characters into it, and instead we're just gonna bring.
I mean, Zelda. Yeah, sure, Zelda's playable, but she's not the hero. Come on, guys. Like that's still Link. Like, don't be stupid.
Yeah, and so we have all these other random Mario enemies as characters, which apparently most of them don't have costumes, but those are the ones which you unlock by. Okay, let me get this right. You get the item that is Magikoopa, and then you throw Magikoopa, and Magikoopa turns your enemies into other characters using the weird costume magic. And the only thing the item does is grant you the costume. It doesn't actually do anything bad to the enemy. It just turns them into a thing, right? That's the entire point of that item?
It does put like things on the track sometimes.
Oh, okay.
On top of
I thought it
does something else.
Okay, because it would be a pointless fucking item otherwise.
Yes.
And it's an item that doesn't benefit you if you get it. It's an item that only benefits you if you get hit by it, which is just a weird thing. And like,
I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
It's one of those design choices, right? Where we're talking about like, oh my god, I could redesign this game so easily and so obviously. And one of those things would be, okay, you get to a track and it's like, hey, it's me, the coin bandit. And you're like, oh, you motherfucker, I'm going to race you. And then you do a race against the fucking Nabbit or whatever, right? And then you beat Nabbit. And for beating Nabbit, you unlock Nabbit. That would make sense, right? In a logical video game where you did logical things. Nintendo are like, okay, but how about if you get hit by this item and randomly you get turned into a thing, that's how you unlock the character. No, that's a good way. That's a really good idea. That's what their decision was, which is just, it's kind of crazy.
It's still weird to me that they've done this whole every enemy in Mario ever, including the cow, becomes a character. I still don't know how I feel about that. I'm getting Bally Jr. pumped up about playing some Mario Kart tomorrow because the forecast.
I was going to ask, like, have you showed it to him yet? Does he have any idea about what's happening?
I have told him Daddy has a brand new Mario Kart and he's excited. I've not shown him it yet, but tomorrow is forecast for heavy rain all day. So I've already said to him, we're going to play the new Mario Kart. And he's like, yes. And nice. I said, and you can drive around whatever you want. So a big problem I've been having with Bally Jr. is he just doesn't want to steer. He enjoys watching the character drive on the screen, but he doesn't. Now, last time we played was some months ago. He might have changed, but the free roam mode is perfect for him because if he doesn't want to steer, he doesn't want to steer. It doesn't even matter if it's a time trial of race or whatever. Free roam, he can just keep driving in a straight line, and even just driving in a straight line in this game is exciting for him because he won't just hit a wall. He will keep going into the abyss, and that is quite exciting. But I told him, like, what character are you going to play? There's so many new characters. And he said, Daddy, what's the mushroom called? I said, that's Toad. He's like, yeah, Toad. He's like, but I want to be, and he said, I want to be Yoshi. And I said, what color Yoshi do you want to be? He said, green. And so he's pumped about playing as green Yoshi tomorrow. That's the plan.
Well, very fortunate that he said green because there are no other color Yoshis in Mario Kart World. I believe that you can't change the color of Yoshi, yeah.
I've seen promotional material with other colored Yoshis. Am I making that up?
Okay, all right, maybe I'm wrong, but I heard from people that you couldn't actually change Yoshi's color in this game.
If you can't change Yoshi's color after they put in, what's this guy called? Stingbee? Like,
Stingbee the bee, our favorite.
They've made a big error. Anyway, Bally Jr. is pumped to play it. I'm really hoping he learns a bit about steering, and that would be my hope. And if he just wants to do open world for however long, that's great.
I think that's a really good point to bring up. Is that if we were 6-year-olds playing this game, this would be the best video game we've ever played, right? Like, I think
we would just live in open world mode.
Yeah, I think there is something to the childhood joy of making your own fun in a game, And I think Mario Kart World is perfect for that. It doesn't have objectives, it doesn't have things you can do, but it has delight in the world, right? It has weird things, it has stuff that just like comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck is how? Like, good example, I was playing before we started recording, I'm riding, and suddenly it starts raining, and it's regular rain, and then all of a sudden, it's raining item boxes, and it just starts raining item boxes from the sky, and I'm like, well, this is pointless, because like there's like items in the open world is such a useless thing. It doesn't do it right. There's no functionality to it, but it was kind of awe-inspiring. It was kind of like, whoa, okay, like there's this really cool, unique thing that has just happened while I'm in the world. And you know, similar thing with like the UFO. I've come across the UFO, and it like absorbs you up, and you're moving around as a UFO. Does it do anything? No, nothing. Like that's the thing where I chafe against it, is like, God, there is such wonder and delight in this world they've created. Cool things happening. Yeah. Is there a purpose to any of it? No. It serves no function at all. And I think, but that's the thing where it comes back to.
But it could be a wonderous moment for Bally Jr. tomorrow when he's just driving along. He's like, Daddy, look at the item boxes.
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, I turned into a giant truck, and then I went and I hit all the like.
Exactly.
For him, I think it's going to be marvelous. I do think for kids, this is such a great mode, and looking at it from that perspective, honestly, I'm not mad at it, because I do think like it's at least it has an audience in mind, and that audience is young kids. Frustrating that yes, two siblings together can't play it because of the restriction Nintendo have, which is insane, but there is like a joy and a wonder to all the interactions and all the little things in this world that I think people are gonna really connect with as young kids playing this game, which is great. And I think it's a great way to get them into the Nintendo kind of ecosystem, and one day they'll play a real open world game like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, and discover what real game design is. But until then, they can have fun running around and just driving for hours and hours endlessly, seemingly, just, you know, for whatever, you know, desire they have, which is just to be Yoshi in the world, I guess, you know. So that's great.
On a services point, is a Smashification coming?
No, I don't think so. I think Nintendo
at all ever.
No, I don't think so. I think this is the thing, how Nintendo look at their franchises, right? This is called Mario Kart. It's about Mario and his kart, okay? No one else is allowed in. It's him and his friends, and they play on their own, and no one else is part of their party, right? I think that, honestly, Smash Brothers, the fact that it exists is kind of an anomaly, right? Like, it was a Sakurai pet project, and the fact that it came into existence was almost an accident. So I do think that Nintendo just, they live in lanes, right? And they're like, this is this lane, and we're never going to leave it, and this is what it's going to be. And maybe we sprinkle some stuff in now and again, but you will never get a full Smash, because at that point, Nintendo's logic is, well, now, by our Nintendo logic, we must change the name of this series to Super Smash Bros. Like, that is how they think. That is the binaries in which they operate, and so you are never going to get a Mario Kart game that has everyone in it, because Nintendo would be like, no, that's false advertising. We can't call it Mario Kart and then have Link and Samus in it as playable characters. That would not be correct, you know? Like, the way they think is ridiculous, but that's how they approach these things, right? And I think that's...
But will we get the sprinkling like we got with Mario Kart 8?
Like DLC? I mean, I could see it possibly happening. Yeah, I definitely think there's an opportunity there.
Do the DLC tracks make the world larger? Do they go on at the sides, or do they start stacking this thing like a cake and they do more layers like Rainbow Road?
Potentially. I mean, I think that's the tricky thing about doing a Zelda or a Metroid thing, is you almost then have to invent some reason for why those tracks exist in the world.
Well, the Zelda tracks would all be in the depths. They'll just do a whole thing.
Right, yes, of course, yeah. Right. You go down a pipe, and that's where you find all the Zelda levels underneath the ground. Yeah, I think, you know, they have to rationalize it some way, don't they? And so it's easy with Mario Kart 8 because nothing's connected, but now they have this open world, they now have to justify a reason to bring it in.
I think we'll get the sprinkling, and it might be stupid as like Zelda Island, and they just connect it with like this ridiculously big bridge or something. Like I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, full Smashification, I agree. I think it's just not happening, but I'm confident sprinkling will happen.
Okay, yeah, we'll see.
Not anytime soon. Shall we do our last Mario Kart question?
Sure, yes.
Hawks Bill says, this is not specific to Switch 2, but it's got me thinking after playing Mario Kart World and looking at the Switch 2 version of No Man's Sky. Reviews are obviously important and great revenue streams for news outlets and industry people, but how do you see their role going forward? No Man's Sky has evolved well beyond its release date, and Mario Kart World will likely adapt going forward. If they want to add new tracks, do review sites have a responsibility to add footnotes in the future to reflect how something has changed?
Yes, I think a couple of ways to think about this. I think one of those is that sites are doing this already. Like IGN do updated reviews quite frequently for games when they've changed or when they've added significant things. Like some websites do go back and do that. Other thing is like there aren't really many websites left. So like it is a thing where yes, reviews are important, and I think reviews are really more important for small games these days than big games. Like, did you need a review to know that you were going to buy Mario Kart World? No, none of us did. We all were going to buy it sight unseen, and we're going to play it regardless and have our own thoughts on it. But I think stuff like that doesn't matter that much because the community will figure out that stuff has changed, and I don't think that anybody is looking at a review of Mario Kart World in 4 years' time and being like, well, yes, but how has it changed over the last 4 years? They're just going to buy it, you know? Like, I think big games, it just doesn't... Reviews make zero dent on the success of a Nintendo first-party game. They just do. So I think that their relevance is just completely waned, and as a result, yeah, it doesn't really matter if they do go back and do this stuff. It's nice if they do, but ultimately I don't think it makes a huge difference in the grand scheme of things.
I agree, and I think that when Mario Kart gets DLC and updates, and if those updates are frequent, sites like IGN will definitely do updated reviews. And yeah, my opinion is just be clear about what you're reviewing. If you're reviewing Mario Kart World in 2027, just make clear that that's when your review is, and it's including this and not including that. And that's all there is to it. I don't think that. Yeah. I don't think it's a huge deal, and as you say, MBZ, I don't think reviews generally make huge dents, especially not on first-party Nintendo games.
No, like I think a good example of reviews mattering is Blueprints this year, which is a smaller independent game, and not many people had heard of it. A few people had, but when reviews came out for that, and it was like, holy shit, Glow is one of the best reviewed games of the year. That's when reviews make an impact, because it's like, oh, this thing that people hadn't heard of is surfaced to a wider audience, and that's great because that really helps to push a game that otherwise would have gone unrecognized. So I do think there's value in that, but games like that never fall into this case of like they evolve over time and change wildly and have to be like, you're not going to do a 2028 re-review of Blueprints because they added 17 new rooms to the house, you know, like it's just not going to happen. So I think, yeah, reviews being updated generally is for games that don't need reviews, if you know what I mean. Like the types of games that would warrant an update to their review because they have evolved so much in the intervening years are the games that are big enough to where reviews don't matter for them. So that's kind of where I land on it. Yeah, any other thoughts on Mario Kart before we jump into some of these other things, Mally?
I just need to keep telling myself, take it for what it is, not what it isn't. I do think this game will change and evolve over the years, and I think that can only be for the better. I think there will be small tweaks Nintendo make, as much as they won't do some of these bigger tweaks we're praying for, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I would like to play more with people online and try and set up like knockout tour modes and things like that. I think that's where the real fun of the game is. So yeah, I think that's probably where we should be focusing our energies in Mario Kart World. And like you said, hopefully they do some more updates to it over time and make it better. But yeah, can't help but walk out of it pretty disappointed as the kind of core launch game for the system. But hey, that's what we signed up for. That's what we're here for, and hey, that's what this podcast is for, is to give our true thoughts, and that's how we felt. So
talking of core games for the launch of the system, Shall we talk about Welcome Tour?
Talk about Game of the Year 2025, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I don't think either of us have finished Welcome Tour. I've played...
No. I'm on the camera.
Okay. I think I'm actually the same place. I think we're in the same spot, Bally.
But I've also missed a bunch of the quizzes because they got a little bit tedious after a while. But I will go back and do them at some point.
So, what is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour? It is a digital manual. It's the best way of saying it. It's a digital manual
with some incredibly rudimentary demos and mini games.
Yes, some also very cool ones. You know, there's some cool ones in there. They are all rudimentary, yes, but this is really the thing that is there to be like, okay, what's the weird gimmicks you have in this system? How can we tell you that we've done weird, like, you know, I talked about the stand earlier, right? Why was I using the stand? It's because there's a mini game in Switch Welcome Tour, which is, oh, we're going to show you an angle. Can you get the right angle on this?
That is very cool, yeah. How does it track it then?
That's what I was wondering. I was like, this is kind of fucking crazy. How do you know what angle I'm putting the stand at? Like, maybe it's a...
It must be the motion sensor in the Switch itself rather than... So it's doing it in relation to the ground, yeah.
I think that must be what it is, right? Because it like it's but the thing is, it also knows when you've put it on its stand as well. It's like, okay, leave it on its stand and then leave it for a second, and it calibrates. It's like, yep, it's on its stand. So it was like, right, do me 65 degrees, and it shows you an image of what 65 degrees looks like. Cool. And you have to like adjust the stand and be like, oh, I think that's 65 degrees, and then you press the button and you lock in your answer, and then it tells you how close degrees wise you are to the correct answer. And yeah, most of these little mini games are how close can you get to this thing, and the closer you get, the more medals you get, basically. So each minigame has 3 possible medals, 2 that are the first ones you start with, and then a 3rd secret medal, which is like a much harder kind of challenge.
Some of them have more than 3 though. What minigame have you found the hardest so far?
The one that I haven't got the 3rd medal on yet, which is one of the first ones, is the one where you have to judge the strength of the rumble by moving the mouse in this huge grid.
I managed to do that one.
The second one of that is fucking impossible. It is so difficult.
We have to come within 10.
It's within 3.
Within 3.
It's within 3 to do that one.
Yeah.
Because the first one is much easier because it's only on one axis. It's on the x-axis, right? And so you're going left, right, and you're like, okay, ooh, what's the most powerful? It's there. Like, I nailed that one instantly. I got it almost immediately, banked it in. Fuck it. I was like, I'm a demon. I've got this. Then you go to the next one. And the problem with the next one is it's both axes. And so it's the entire fucking area. And you have to pinprick point within a distance of 3 for the rumble.
I lied. I did the one that you have to get within 10, and I got 9. But yeah, within 3 is wild.
Yeah, so you got 2 medals for that. You get 3 medals if you do it within 3. So I still haven't done that one, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it because it's fucking impossible. It's so hard.
You'll fluke it eventually. Did you get the 60 stars on the move the mouse thing?
Yes. So that was the one with the falling.
I found that quite tough, but that was very satisfying.
So this is where I actually did some testing. So I think on the diary that we put up last week, I talked about playing it in my bed. And I got a score of 56 on my bed sheet, doing it on the side of my bed sheet. Jeez. So, I don't know. I feel like this mouse stuff... Let's talk about the mouse, because the mouse is really being used the most in Welcome Tour for a lot of different minigames. There's lots of different ways that you've been using it. How do you feel about using the mouse and how functional it is? And the most important question, Bally, I've been waiting for the whole week to ask you, does it work when you sit down and use it on your sofa next to you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
There you go. Question answered.
Why wouldn't it?
Well, that was the thing. I was like, I think we were both kind of having this conundrum of well, I have a good setup for it. I can use my mouse mat, and that's what I've been using. I'm just using my PC mouse mat. Works perfectly, and maybe that's why I'm having an easier time than you and doing those mini games. Is the precision is very good on my mouse mat, and so I can very, very specifically pinpoint things.
I found I did a bit of that dodging mini game on my desk, and then I did a bit on the couch, and I might even prefer the couch actually. There's just something
interesting.
It's not to do with the tracking, it's just something to do with the way that it's responding to so it's a small, the game tells you this, it's a small camera, and it's looking at the world moving around it, and it digitally inputs movement based on how much it sees the world moving around itself, basically.
Right.
Which is very cool. But yeah, it works slightly better on the couch, to the point where I've actually started looking up reviews of Civilization 7 on Switch 2.
Oh, I see.
I'm not going to do it this year probably, but I just want to know that version is good, and I've seen things on Reddit and other places that are just I've played 50 hours of Civ 7, mouse works fine, it's good. My only issue is that I think this person was playing for 10-hour long periods or something, and they said their hand got sore. I was like, all right, I think if I play for less than 10 hours in a row, my hand will...
Yeah, you're never going to be sitting on a couch for 10 hours playing Civ, so yeah.
I'd be up for that at some point, just probably not this year, just a very busy year. But definitely. It works, and I'm happy it works, and I think some of these mini games are very cool.
Yeah, for sure. So Welcome Tour is just a weird thing generally, right? You're a little person, you're a man or a person or whoever. You make your character. You actually don't make your character at the beginning. It's very funny. You click through a line of people, and it's a seemingly endless line of people. I like that. It's quite a good way of picking a character. Yeah, and you're like, who kind of looks like me here? Okay, I guess this person kind of looks like me. They'll be my avatar as I kind of go through and do all this stuff. And you're again, it's like tiny person, big world type of idea of you're on a giant Switch 2 and you're exploring the whole of the Switch 2, and you are learning things about it. So the main progression is you have to find all of the buttons or interactive points of the Switch 2, and when you find all of those stickers, it's like a museum stamp situation. You get all of your stamps, and when you have all your stamps, you can then move on to the next area, and that will allow you to kind of experience more different parts of it. So you start off on one of the Joy-Cons, then you go to the main screen, and then you go to the other Joy-Con, and then you go inside the Joy-Cons, and at the point that we're both at, we're at the camera, which is, you've done the dock, you've done a couple of other things, and you eventually get to... And you, like you said, you just have to go to these points and collect them. You don't have to do any demos, any mini-games, or any quizzes to progress. Those are all optional. You just have to get these points to progress. Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of what is this thing? Click it. Then you have the demos. So the demos are essentially tech demos, right? Where it's okay, let's show you what HDR looks like. And they do a thing, and it's it should look like this, and this is how HDR looks. Turn this on, turn this off, and we'll show you the difference. The one that they showed in the previews was 4K, which is play the original Super Mario Brothers in 4K. And you can see that the entirety of the first level of Mario 1 is not even long enough to fill the horizontal resolution of 4K, which is a good visualization. Weird thing that's happened to me, my screen is 1440p. The Switch 2 thinks it's 4K because it let me do that minigame no problem. It was oh, weird, okay. You have a 4K screen, which I thought was a little odd, but I'm not complaining because it means I don't have to unplug it and take it downstairs to the 4K TV otherwise, which I would have had to do, so that's saved me a bit of a job, but... yeah, there's lots of little things. There's here's a test of the rumble where you have maracas and there's some balls inside, and kind of reminiscent of some of the 1-2 Switch stuff with the ice cubes, right? Has a similar kind of feel to it, but obviously the rumble is much better in this scenario. And then... Do you think the rumble really is considerably better than the Switch one? I think it's better, but I wouldn't say considerably better. Right, I definitely feel the difference, but I don't think it's it's no... PlayStation 5 DualSense, that still is... Yeah, I agree on DualSense. I did one mini game where it was pairs, basically, but the pairs were represented by rumble sounds, and the rumble sounds were represented by images. So one was a motorbike engine, one was, I don't know, a zipper or something, and they were trying to convince me that the rumble coming through felt like a zipper or felt like a motorbike engine, and I was just I don't quite feel that. I think it's not quite that good. Yes, when I played 1-2 Switch for the first time and you do the ball mini game and you're guessing how many balls are in the thing, that's really cool. I don't think this new Rumble feature, HD2 Rumble,
does anything much beyond that whole ball feature, to be honest. I don't think it feels slightly more crisp, but I don't think it changes the functionality at all.
No, I think it just feels nicer in the hands. Like, generally speaking, the rumble just feels very nice when it's attached to the system. And I think that's fine. I think that's kind of all you need it to be for me, and just having the good feeling, high quality feel of the rumble. That all this other stuff is very gimmicky, but I think just at a fundamental level, the rumble feels good, and I think that's fine. So yeah. So yeah, you have the mini games, which are the ones we were talking about, like the UFO one where you have to dodge all the spike balls, and there's guess the frame rate. Which, how did you do on guess the frame rate, Bally? Did you get it first time? Did you?
I think I messed one up. I think I can't remember, but
okay,
it's good. It's a good demonstration of frame rate for sure.
I think it's good for those people who are like, I can't see frame rate. It's like, yes, you fucking can, motherfucker. Look at 30 versus 120. You will tell the difference. So yeah, I think that's quite good for that. I think the ones that I have enjoyed are just the kind of weird ones. Like, one of the ones I did recently was the 4K pixel hunt, which, again, even harder for me because my screen is 1440, not 4K.
That one was fun, yeah. I find it quite easy, actually.
That's interesting because you're so far away from your TV.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine it would be more difficult for you.
But I've got a really big TV.
Yeah, your TV is very big, that's true.
It's like 65 inches.
But I was imagining it's going to be quite difficult for you. For me, it was actually really difficult, even though I'm quite close to my screen. Like, I was like, is that, like, trying to find it? But it was very fun to, basically the idea is there are 5 individual pixels, and it shows you just how fucking tiny a pixel is on a 4K screen. And they're like rotating, kind of shaking about on the screen. And you have to identify where they are, and you have to click all 5 of them within a time limit, basically. A lot of these challenges are kind of time limit based, I would say, where they're like, do a thing, but do it quick, basically. So I did, there's the speed golf one where you're like moving your Joy-Con like it's a golf club, and you're like trying to putt.
That's a bit jank, that one.
It is a bit jank, that one. I don't think it works perfectly well. It was okay. It was good fun. We do have a question from Declan, who said, what is the best minigame in Welcome Tour? Do you have an answer for this, Bally, so far of what you've experienced?
The most fun I've had is probably as boring as just dodging the spikes with the UFO, using the mouse and collecting the stars. It's very simple, but it's actually very Moorish, and I really tried hard to get those 60 stars. It was very good. I
think they do forefront that one smartly. I think it is one of the best ones because of the addictive kind of high score nature of it, right? Like, I can see myself playing that just as a fun game because I like the game of it, right? I think that's probably why it's so effective. There's a weird one that I really liked that was it tests your dexterity in an interesting way, where it's basically like, okay, so the Switch 2 touchscreen, it has 10 different points where you can touch it. And you're basically playing, what's the fucking game on Twister. The ground where you Twister. You're basically playing Twister with your 10 fingers on your hand to try and press colored buttons on the screen. So the screen will go like, oh, here's rows of different colors, and every time you put a finger down, it will show you another color, and you'll have to make a decision, which finger am I putting down next? How am I maneuvering it so that I still have space for my other fingers to press down on other buttons? And you never know what colors are coming up, and so it's a question of like, okay, I'm going to put this finger here, and then they're like red, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, my pinky can't reach that.
And they'll say, don't release your finger, we're watching you.
Exactly, yeah, so you can't.
Did the Switch 1 have multiple touch points, or was it just one?
It might have had multiple touch points, but maybe fewer than this does, because this has 10, right? So I think that's...
I know DS and 3DS definitely had one each.
Right, so the difference there is that the DS and 3DS used what was called a a resistive touchscreen. Resistive touchscreens were more like what PDAs used back in the day, where it's single touch point, pressure-based, versus capacitive touchscreens, which is what iPhones...
Which works with a sausage.
Yeah. It's what iPhones started using, and then every kind of subsequent screen after that was capacitive. So that's what the Switch used, and that's what this uses as well. But this seems to have even more kind of touch points to it. So yeah, that one I thought was quite fun. And there have been some ones that haven't hit super well, but overall, like, I like them. I think they're a fun little way to interact with the tech that you have. And like I said, like it's making me use every part of the system, using the Pro Controller, using the Joy-Cons as like dual mouses, using the stand, taking it out in hand on what's the mode when you put it fucking on
Tabletop
your
mode?
desk? Tabletop, for fuck's sake. Yeah, tabletop mode. It's making you use every single one of those, which I think is...
it's not the most relaxing game to sit on the couch and play, because it's constantly asking you to get up and change your setup every demo, every mini game, basically.
Yeah, and you don't know what you're going to come up against, so it's like, well, I got to the camera, and actually, I could have predicted that one because it's the camera, but now it's like, oh, well, now plug in the camera and do a camera thing, and I'm like, well, don't have that right now, so I'll skip that for the moment, and when I feel not lazy and I can go to my other computer and grab my USB camera and then plug it in here and make that work, then I'll do that. But yeah, I'm gonna have to take some time for it. But then there's the quizzes, Bally, everyone's favorite quiz, which you seem to not be super hot on, the quizzes. But I
mean, they're fine, but it's because you have to basically read through 4 or 5 points and then you do the quiz, and it's like they really want to teach you lots of aspects. Now, what's cool about the quizzes is the Nintendo history. Like, they do insert a lot of Nintendo history in there. Like, I really enjoyed, I did one today with the camera, and they gave me like a list of it was like a history of the uses of cameras in Nintendo systems, and then you realize that, oh yeah, like that little infrared sensor thing that was used in relation to the lab. Yeah, that was a camera. So they counted that. And then they've got the Game Boy camera. And then obviously the camera on like the Wii U. And like there's all these things that you just think, wow, they've thought about this. And like for real Nintendo nerds like that, like us, that is, I think, the value of Welcome Tour. It is like the deep dives, which is nice.
I do think there's also like a tech angle to this, right? Of like, I've learned a lot about this system and about what it can do, and the very, like, I was joking earlier about, oh, well, the rounded edges of the Switch 2 dock, now it makes it easier for you to grab those Joy-Cons off. But, like, it is one of those things that I just wouldn't have thought about, and I would have been, like, kind of, like, in the back of my brain, like, oh, it is much nicer to interact. And if they hadn't told me that, I would have been like, oh, I wouldn't have, like, thought about the fact that they engineered this. Like, I think the thing that I really like about the quiz is, and the reason that it works for this thing, is the Switch 2 is such an iterative device that you would be forgiven for being like, oh, well, they basically didn't do anything to change it, right? It's just the same thing, just bigger and better. And what this does is it breaks it down in a way, and it really goes into like the finessing and the thought process that went into making this the best possible Switch experience they possibly could, by thinking about every single touch point, every single point of frustration or little niggle that someone had with the original console, and they were like, well, let's do this. And so, I really respect it for that, and I think it's cool that the fact that they talk about having, with the rumble before, some of the kind of sound of the rumble would be so loud on the Switch 1 because of the way that it worked and the way that it would rattle buttons in their kind of casing. And like, they talk about that and they're like, okay, well, we made sure that didn't happen this time because we knew that was a problem and we addressed it. So this time the buttons don't rattle in the case when the rumble goes crazy anymore. And like, it's just little things like that that streamline the experience, that make it actually it makes you understand why Switch 2 is just a smoother overall kind of thing. They
put so much thought into the design of the system. If they just put in that same thought with the design of their main launch game, it would have been such like, there's just that 100%. Intricacy that we're talking about just doesn't feel the same with Mario Kart. Anyway, we've been ranting about Mario Kart enough, but Have you played the VRR mode mini demo?
Wait, what? No, I have not. What is this?
They have a demo where they want to show off what VRR is, and you know how it was rumored like, oh yeah, VRR only works in tabletop mode.
Yeah.
When you do that demo, they go, put your Switch in tabletop mode. Like, it doesn't actually work on the screen. Right. I still don't fully understand what VRR is. I don't think the demo did a good job in convincing me as a normie how. I mean, I'm not really a normie, but like, it didn't convince me like what VRR was. Like, to my knowledge, it's about how smooth frame rate can shift. It's not just having a smooth frame rate, it's about having different frame rates moving between the two of them, but then the transition between those frame rates being more smooth, right?
Correct, yes, okay. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the idea behind it. Sorry, when you said VR, I thought you said VR, not VRR.
Oh,
So
right.
I was like, what are you talking about? There's a VR
VRR.
thing in this. Yes, yeah, exactly.
So they've got a demo for that. I think you're about to do it. It's on the camera once. So,
yes,
yeah.
I've not done that yet, but yeah, I'm interested in seeing what happens there. But I don't, there's quite a lot to this. Like, I feel like I'm maybe halfway through, maybe a little bit more than that actually, because I guess I've got to see the Pro Controller, I've got to see the Joy-Con grip, I've got to see
The dock.
a couple of other things.
We did the dock.
We did the dock. So yeah, maybe actually not that many more things to go, but yeah, I think I've enjoyed it a lot, and like
Worth the money?
No, definitely not. Never was,
Yeah.
never will be. But as a quirky thing for launch,
Yes.
I'm happy. Like, I know a lot of people are mad at it and like think it's terrible, and every podcast I listen to has been like, this thing's really bad, isn't it? And everyone's like, yes, it is very bad.
Because they're judging it as a game.
Right, exactly.
Right, I think if you judge it as, I'm a hardcore Nintendo fan, Nintendo do tons of quirky stuff all the time, what's the quirkiest weird thing that comes in and around the launch of the Switch 2? It's this game. Like, there's no Street Pass, there's no 1-2 Switch, there's no Wii Play, there's no, weird Nintendo thing. It's just this game. So if you want that weird Nintendo energy, not always great, not always the best games, but interesting and deep dive, then this is the game. And I think that's what it should be judged on.
I think there's also something to be said. Like, they clearly said in the Direct that this game was made by the hardware team, and that team doesn't make games, right? So this is a thing that is being made by people who traditionally don't have a background in making regular Nintendo games. So I think that's part of the reason why people are chafing against it, is like, it's not really built as a game in a traditional way. It's built by a totally different team with a totally different purpose in mind. And I think it's cool. I think it's cool that they got the chance to do this and they were able to make something that was kind of weird and fun like this. It's a shame that barely anyone will play it, because like, it's just not worth the money for most people, right? Like, if you're a weird person like me and Bally, who have been Nintendo fans all our life to such a degree that we've been
doing a Nintendo podcast since 2011,
right, for over a decade. Like, for us, yes, we want to look at this thing and we're fascinated by it and we're interested by it. Most people are not going to be us, and I think that's the and again, I don't think that bundling it in necessarily is the answer either, because I think
it would have annoyed people, wouldn't it? It's not an Astrobot or Mario 64.
It's a free thing, and like, most people would have been like, what's this weird thing, and bounced off it. But there's definitely like a way in which they could have designed it more smoothly and made it more fun and made it a bit more Nintendo-like. But I don't know, if it kind of feels like going to school is how I describe it, this game. Like,
it's going to school for Nintendo nerds, definitely. I think Greg Leahy on RFN said they should have done it with Switch Online. I think that could have been a good compromise. So,
right, yeah, I think that would have made a lot of sense.
It's just a thing that's
have an
in
incentive.
There, but,
totally. So yeah, that is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Probably by next time I will have finished it, I guess. It's one of those games you can't...
Are you going to 100% this thing, or are you never going to get within enough pixels of that vibration game?
I think that's my biggest obstacle to 100%ing it. If I can do that, then yes, I absolutely will, because I've basically
I'll frequently click the point I think it is, and it's on the other side of the screen, and I'm like, what?
I know. Oh god, it's mad. I have mainly 3-medaled everything at this point, aside from that. So yeah, I'm on my way to doing it. I'm on my way to 100%ing this thing. So I definitely would like to, and I think it would be cool. I've probably put, I don't know, 3-4 hours into it, but it's not a game you can sit down and play for 6 hours in a row. It's like, you'll be like, okay, I've taken in enough knowledge, I've read enough today, I'm going to play it. I basically play it for like half an hour, 40 minutes maximum, and then I'm like, right, I'm going to play something else. I'll go back to Mario Kart or whatever, right? It's a game you have to kind of take in little bites and pieces, because it is basically going to school, so, and you don't want to do non-stop lessons back to back, so that's kind of the thing. So all right, great. Bally, we have a few other things to talk about, and we can just touch on these. We've not gone super in depth on those.
Yeah, there's not much to say on them.
No, but GameCube, Nintendo Switch Online. In fact, the very first thing I did with my Switch 2, we talked about it, what is going to be the first thing you play. The first thing I played was Soul Calibur 2 on GameCube. I booted it up and I was like, let's check this thing out. It's a quick thing to jump into and see what's going on. And I think Mario Kart World was still downloading in the background for me. And I played like 3 missions from Weapon Master mode, and I was like, yep, this is one of the best single players ever made in a fighting game.
Does it run at 60, do you know?
I'm pretty sure Soul Calibur was 60 on GameCube,
right.
Yeah, so I think it is still. It looks great. I mean, it's super sharp. I feel like there's a little bit of lag, and I'm not sure if that's just like that's how the original controls felt, or...
I was going to ask if I feel lag with Wind Waker massively.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's the emulation fault, or if it is just we used to live in an era where things weren't as responsive as they are today, is my question. I'm not sure though, but I've touched all 3. I played a little bit of F-Zero. I played the start of Wind Waker. I didn't play it, I just ran around for a bit basically, and then played the first few levels of Weapon Master. Works really well, I think. So here's the lovely thing about it. You start playing Wind Waker and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's an inverted camera, isn't it? With the new addition to Switch Online, you can go into the control menu and you can invert the inversion so you can have regular camera control.
Oh.
Yes.
How do I do that?
So it's a little bit finicky, but you could basically swap the left and right stick movement, and that basically does the regular camera motion for you, essentially. So
for the right stick.
That's the way to do it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, for the right stick, you basically there's inputs for each of the sticks, there's 4 directional.
And you can do that just for Wind Waker without affecting the other games?
It's a great question. I'm not sure. I hope so. I hope that it is a game-to-game basis. If it isn't, then you're going to have to keep going into the menu and changing it. But I think it is. I think it is a game-to-game basis. So at the moment, you wouldn't have any other game that would use the second analog stick. But when we get other stuff, I'm sure we'll figure out what's going on there. But yeah, so I did that immediately, and immediately I was like, oh, right, this feels good now. I can actually play it. Again, I don't know if I want to play like original Wind Waker. Like the HD version is just so much better and just was the version that made the most sense. So it's cool to run around in for a bit, but I wouldn't do another full playthrough of Wind Waker, I think, on this thing.
I mean, in an ideal world, when like I have very little time to game at the moment because of 2 kids, but when I do, I would love to play a bit more Wind Waker, even the original, because there's something very nostalgic about just how grimy and old and standard screen it looks. And I thought it felt quite laggy as well. I saw Mike Minati on Blue Sky post about it feeling laggy. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I just played 20 minutes, had a little run around, and it's cool. It's there.
Have you tried F-Zero? Because F-Zero felt okay to me. I feel like maybe
not yet. I would like to play F-Zero and do that campaign at some point. I just don't have the time for all these things, basically.
No, again, I jumped into it for literally 5 minutes just to test it and to see how it felt, and it did feel pretty good. I think I was like, I don't know how to boost in this game. Like, can you boost in the same way? And then I checked the controls, and you can, but for whatever reason it didn't seem like it was working when I tried it, so I have to go back and give that another go.
It only unlocks after the second lap.
Oh, I see. Okay, maybe that's
the first lap. It's quite like, you talk about like moaning about Mario Kart where you don't do 3 laps in a row. F-Zero GX is cleverly designed where you play the first lap, you can't boost. You can only boost on the second and third lap. And in F-Zero GX, a bit like F-Zero 99, your boost is directly linked to your health. So like the more you boost, it's more of a gamble, and then you're trying to like boost and drain your health as much as possible, like mad, before the finish line on the third lap.
Got you. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, again, having save states for all these is super nice. It's like when I want to jump back into Soul Calibur, I don't need to load up the whole thing again. I can be like, oh, I'm straight into Weapon Master mode.
Oh, save states and that F-Zero GX weapon mode. I was going to say F-Zero GX campaign is going to be so good.
Yeah, it's going to help you a tremendous amount to get through that thing, which will be really nice. I sent you and Ali T a video, which is like, there's actually a hidden way to get the GameCube intro. When you open up the GameCube app, you basically hold the analog stick to the side in any direction, and it will do the classic GameCube intro. Which is
left or right analog stick?
I think it's the left analog stick. You just hold it in any direction, and it'll do the which is great because it's like, I think it's one of the most iconic things about the GameCube. So the fact they built that in as a secret, especially because the GameCube itself had multiple secret intros that you could do, is a super nice touch. So, yeah, lots of stuff like that going on. We have a question on the GameCube from Sully. Do you want to read that for us, Bally?
Sully says, what is your freak pick GameCube game to be added to NSO? The built-in microphone is clearly foreshadowing the inclusion of Odama.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have Odama on this system. That would be fantastic. I've never played it, only heard people talk about it, mainly RFN. It's where I hear about all the weird GameCube games, it's those guys. I was like, what is Odama? You know, and then I go on the internet and I'm like, right, okay, this was insane. So yeah, I've been interested in that game for many years now, and that'd be great if they put some weirdo picks on there. I mean, the obvious one is Doshin the Giant. Like, I've been wanting to play Doshin the Giant.
I was gonna say Doshin the Giant. That's the weird one that I want. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's the pick for me. I mean, we know Chibi Robo is coming, which is fantastic. So that's excellent. I really want to play Chibi Robo. Beautiful Joe would be nice, I think. Again, it's a third party. It's a Capcom thing, so bit trickier probably to get stuff like that on here, but there's so many weird deep cuts on GameCube.
I want the 2-factor 5 Star Wars games, Rogue Squadron 2 and Rebel Strike. Like, those have the number of ports and remakes of Star Wars games from that era that we've had in the last life cycle of the Switch is insane, and those Factor 5 ones, including Battle for Naboo, that's another one, and the original Rogue Squadron, so that's like 4 Star Wars games. They're just nowhere to be seen, and it's a real shame. And I want all of them. Yeah,
definitely. That would be very nice. Billy Hatcher would be good to get on there. That would be a good one. Cubivore, you know, lots of weird.
Adventure 2 Battle.
Sonic, yeah. I don't know if Sega would want to do that. If they want to remake it, probably. I think that's a thing they'd want to do. I feel like this is the problem. Is GameCube has so many like classics that Nintendo are afraid of putting out there, I think, because of their whole like, well, if we give them that, then they'll not play the new one on Switch 2, right? So like Smash Melee is the obvious, like,
yeah,
are they actually going to do that? I don't know if they will. Double Dash, do they want to give people Double Dash when World is a game that they could buy instead? You know, like, that's the weird thing about GameCube, is like it's close enough to the current generation that Nintendo would have legitimate fears about people playing that instead of buying the new one.
I think for us it feels close to the current generation. I think if I put that old version of Wind Waker in front of Bally Jr., he'd have a heart attack. Like, I don't know.
It looks pretty good.
Looks
still
grubbier than I thought it would.
I don't know. I still think it looks quite good.
Maybe it's blown up on my 4K TV weird, but I think that you ask Gen Zers, like, compare GameCube to like modern day games, I think they would see the jump as just as big as like us for the Super Nintendo or even the N64. It's big.
I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. It's because these motherfuckers be playing Roblox, the most ass-looking shit that has ever existed, alright? Like, if your bar is Minecraft and Roblox, you have no right telling me Wind Waker looks bad. Fuck off, into the sun. Like,
maybe
come
looks
on, that's
bad
not...
is the wrong thing to say, but I think once they start trying to play it, they'd say it plays bad, but I don't know.
I don't know, man. Have you been playing these obbies on Roblox? They play like fucking ass, apparently. So I don't know. I think there's definitely some really cool out of left field picks that we could get on GameCube, and I'd love to see them, because GameCube is a console for weirdos, right? Like, what about the original Battalion Wars? That would be great to see on here, you know? What about our favorite Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee? You know, like, there's
that was a good
there's
game.
a lot of... It's a great game, like really good stuff. And some of these are just like licensing issues and stuff. Killer 7, you know, Killer 7, very stylized, cool looking game. Like, there's loads. I think GameCube has a rich library of weird games that could be super exciting when they get added to. And we know that there are going to be some, you know, Nintendo first party stuff added to it. We're getting Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which is one of the best Fire Emblem games. I'm super happy that that's getting on there. More people get to check that out. And yeah, weirder ones as well, like Chibi Robo. I think Sunshine got confirmed also. If you want to play a bad video game, that's there for you as well. There's loads. There's loads coming. Odama is a great pick though, Sully. I would like to play Odama. So
Shall we talk? I played a bit of Breath of the Wild, so I played like.
Yes, I didn't play Tears of the Kingdom necessarily. I jumped in. I updated both of them. Actually, I think I only updated Tears of the Kingdom. I've yet to upgrade Breath of the Wild, but I jumped into Tears of the Kingdom immediately, and I was like, oh, this looks bad, and I was like, oh wait, it's because I have to download the upgrade pack first to do it, which is a whole situation. If you go to the eShop and you could accidentally buy the upgrade pack instead of just downloading it. A classic Nintendo move. But yeah, I downloaded it and then I loaded it back up and I was like, oh wow, this looks fucking amazing.
Yes.
And so I ran around for like, I don't know, 5 minutes basically, just to get a sense of how it felt and how it looked. And it looks stunning. It's just incredible. The uplift that resolution and frame rate gives to both those games, I imagine. So you started a new save file, right, in Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, I did 20 minutes of Wind Waker and then I updated Breath of the Wild, and then I jumped into the new save file and did another 20 minutes of Breath of the Wild. And wow, like in a world where I had more time right now and I wasn't trying to play so many games around having 2 young kids, I would 100% be up for playing the whole Breath of the Wild again with my new Switch 2 as like this nostalgic way of reliving 2017, because it's stunning, like absolutely stunning. And it's a very easy game to just jump in, play a bit, jump out. I could see myself like playing 20 minutes of that game every day if I had more time, and beating it by, I don't know, the end of the Switch 2 life cycle or something. It's just such a nice chill background game, and I found the resolution and the frame rate made me want to really like stare at like the grass and take in the environment a lot more. And for a game that is so based on the wild, like I think that resolution and these things running nicer is super nice. So I'm more inclined to do that honestly than do more wrap up of Tears of the Kingdom. But in an ideal world, I would genuinely want to do both. If time was of no object, I would play both those games right now. They're much more appealing to me in the moment right now than Welcome Tour and Mario Kart, genuinely. Like I would really love to go back to them.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is like jumping back into a save file of 100 hours is so difficult, which is why I think it was smart of you to start a new one, because I started playing Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, oh fuck, what button do I press to do this again? Like,
I feel like playing Breath of the Wild could also be a good warm up to Tears of the Kingdom, because Tears of the Kingdom definitely feels like a step above Breath of the Wild in terms of complexity and things to do.
For sure.
And, I want to 100% both of them.
Sure, God, get every fucking Korok seed. All right, good luck.
Not that part. That's silly.
Yeah, I have not tried the Zelda notes thing yet.
No,
I'd like to give that a go and see what that is like. Maybe that's what I'll do with Tears of the Kingdom, is like, take me to a shrine app, tell me where to go, and it'll guide me with my GPS.
Do wrap up more seamlessly.
Yeah, exactly. I hopefully can give that a go. But I think as upgrades go, they're pretty stellar. This is exactly what I'm looking for from Switch 1 games, to get like new stuff added to it, which is just make it run better, make it look better. Basically, that's it. I don't really need new content for them. I mean, new content is nice to go back to, but just make it a better experience overall. We have a question on this specifically. Manbear asked, which Switch games are you hoping to see updates or Switch 2 editions for? Bally, any that jump to mind?
Haven't they all got like pseudo updates?
No,
I guess
no,
Smash Brothers doesn't, Animal Crossing doesn't, but Mario Odyssey does. It's just like a subtle one.
It does, which arguably I wouldn't say it needed it, really. I mean, resolution definitely, just to bump it up to 4K, but...
So I imagine it's like checkerboard 4K or something, which I'm sure still looks really good. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were the obvious shouts, and I personally don't have a ton of games I'm just waiting to play in that same resolution.
I think the ones that were bad have also, like, Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom have both got the upgrade as well, right? Not the Switch... This is the thing. Those are not Switch 2 editions. Those are just...
Exactly. Those aren't... Yes.
Bumps. Those are like, hey, we've got a...
Odyssey got a bump.
Yeah, it got a bump.
But then Smash Brothers and Animal Crossing haven't even had the bump, right?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is like, there's a lot of Nintendo first-party games out there that not only do they not have the Switch 2 edition, but they don't have the bump either. So the bump is what I'm looking for. I saw the bump in...
I've got to trademark that, the bump. Everyone's going to call it the bump.
I saw the bump in real time because... We can talk about this as a separate thing. Nintendo just fucking announced a spin-off for Splatoon for the Switch 2 this week. I think one of the worst marketing moves I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Okay. This completely tanks the idea that there are more games coming later this year that will be announced in the Direct, right?
I don't know that it does. I think what it does tank is the idea that there's a Direct anytime soon. Okay. I think there will be a Direct, but probably like next couple of months is my guess, like August or something.
So let's say in August for releases in October, say.
Yeah, probably. Right, this is where you get your Metro Prime 4 release date and stuff like that. But
you might get a new game announced for October. Well, anyway. We'll see.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, so Nintendo. Okay, so here's what happened. Right, I'm sitting on my computer as usual, and I'm scrolling through YouTube, and I see like Nintendo's uploaded a thing, and it's like, oh, it's a Splatoon thumbnail. Looks like those guys from Splatoon 3 maybe, and the title is Update from the Research Lab, and I'm like, okay, cool, there's probably some piece of marketing, whatever. I don't watch it. Here's the important thing, I don't click on it, because why would I? Because it just looks like a random thing for Splatoon that they often just upload random shit on their channel for. Anyway, it goes like 40 minutes go by, and I pop onto Blue Sky and I'm scrolling, and people are like, new Splatoon game announced, Splatoon Raiders. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean new game announced? So I go back to that video, I click it, and that video announces a new fucking game for the Switch 2. Like, what are you... Oh, God. I understand. Look, obviously, I got the news eventually, and it's out there. But, like, there are so many casual people out there who, like, are not going to click on a random Splatoon video if you don't say it's a new fucking video game in the title or thumbnail or anything. Like, I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Update from the research lab. It's just, like, so in-universe to the point of not knowing what it is.
It's fucking crazy that that's the decision they made. Unbelievable. Like, I could not believe that's the choice they made, but that's what they did. They announced a brand new game. We don't know anything about it, unfortunately. Like, we know that it is a spin-off, which means, I mean, you would assume not using the same core mechanics as Splatoon, at least the online kind of, like, multiplayer stuff, right? It could be a single-player...
Probably single-player, yeah.
Adventure mode that, like, uses the gun and the core Splatoon stuff in a different way, potentially. Who knows? Is it a platformer? Is it like an adventure? No one has any idea right now. It looks very... I mean, it's a 3D game. It looks similar to current Splatoon games in terms of the art style and aesthetic and everything. That's great. But anyway, that's been announced now. that's a new video game. But I think... Okay, so... If I was to justify Nintendo's decision here, it would be that they had two pieces of news. One is Splatoon Raiders. The other was here's version 10 for Splatoon 3, which includes here's a bunch of new weapon stuff, and then also we're giving it a Switch 2 bump, basically. Again, not a Switch 2 edition. Splatoon 3 has not got an edition.
And cross-play with Switch 1, which I think is a very un-Nintendo cool thing for them to do.
Well, see, I don't think I would call it crossplay because that would imply that it was a Switch 2 version of a game. This is still the Switch 1 version of the game. You just get a better frame rate and better resolution for it. So I don't...
That's fair.
Like, it's using the same servers and stuff. I don't think it's actually really much of a lift on their end to do that. I think it's just the same game. It just looks better. So anyway, that was all bundled together in one video. So I guess I understand why they did it that way. I still think it's fucking insane to announce a new video. Also, I believe they announced this first on the Nintendo Today app. So they are really going all in on that Today app. Like, they don't give a fuck.
You know the stupid thing that turns me off from going in that app daily the most?
What?
Maybe you can relate to this. It turns off my podcasts when I go into it.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
That's mad. I didn't realize. I guess I've never been listening to a podcast.
Like, I'm all up for scrolling through random shit while I'm listening to podcasts on my phone. I live for that stuff, and it's a perfect example of something that I would happily scroll through. But then it turns off my podcast. I'm like, screw you. I'm not going in that app. Hell no.
That's crazy. I must have never opened it when listening to a podcast.
Maybe there's a setting I can change somewhere, but I severely doubt it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect Nintendo to give you a setting to do that, so that's probably not
Seems you can't even like
feasible.
Screen capture while it's open and all that stuff. It's mad.
Yeah, totally. But yes, okay, all that to say that as a result of this announcement, I bought the DLC for Splatoon 3 that I never played, the roguelike mode. Side Order is what it's called. And then yesterday when it went live, the update, I hopped back in and played a bunch of Splatoon 3. Great game. I mean, it's still fucking fantastic. Just awesome. Looks amazing. Here's the most important part, Bally. Since the Wii U days, we have complained, why does the Plaza run in 30 frames per second and the game run in 60? Finally, the Plaza runs...
Now they all run at 120.
Yeah, exactly. But the Plaza finally runs at 60 frames per second, and you no longer have that jarring thing going between the Plaza.
They even mentioned that in the I'm going to call it direct.
They did.
The research lab
video.
update. Yeah.
Yeah, the research lab update, for fuck's sake. Yeah, they love being in universe, don't they? So yeah, I would say, like, people are too fucking good at Splatoon is my problem. I jumped in there and I think I maybe got a kill in like my 5 matches. Like Jesus. I was getting bodied. It is rough out there now. People are good at that game. So I need to wait for the mouse mode edition, you know, because I don't believe they added mouse stuff to this. That's when I'll get in there and really start tearing shit up.
They have confirmed that's coming, right?
No, they didn't. They didn't say anything about it. So I don't know if they will do that or not. I imagine the Splatoon game on Switch 2, the Raiders, whatever it's going to be, is going to have that.
I'm not sure they've acknowledged the existence of the mouse outside of Welcome Tour yet.
Yeah, I mean, Prime is going to use it, and there'll be some other things. Yeah. But yeah, not really present in the launch that much. So yeah, other Switch 2 editions or updates. I mean, Splatoon 3 was kind of one of the ones on my list, so the fact that within the first week of launch got updated, that's super nice. I hope they keep that as a trend. I hope like in this kind of more dry period while we wait for DK, every couple of weeks they're like, and by the way, Animal Crossing got the update, and by the way, Smash Brothers got the update. Like, I think it would be nice to roll those out, because then it gives you a legitimate excuse to play something else on your Switch 2 and to go back to something else, right? It's like reviving the category, re-litigating it.
Do you think they'll do that? I'd be surprised.
I think it would be surprising, yeah, because I think the thing that made this work was it was a dual announcement of a new game alongside a version 10 update.
Yeah.
Versus, like, you know, next week, are they going to be like, Luigi's Mansion 2 gets the bump now, and now it's at 4K, and already ran at 60, but now it's at 4K. So, yeah, maybe not. I think hopefully they do it in a batch next time of like, and then these 4 games now have the update, and they're going to run better, because that would be good. And, you know, so some games will run better because they have unlocked frame rates. I talked about this in last pod as well, but Mamoru no Bakaru, the game that I bought from Japan, ran like ass on Switch 1, but it had an unlocked frame rate, so now I play it on Switch 2, it runs really smoothly. So there are examples like that out there of games that had unlocked frame rates that mean that when you get it on this system, now it doesn't have the cap anymore, which is good. So, right. And it has the power to run it at a higher frame rate. So,
well, now that I've played Welcome Tour, I know what frame rates actually are, so that's really helpful.
Exactly. Finally.
Yeah. There we go.
It took so many years, Bally, but we finally got there. To be fair, like, I think I got the 60-120 one wrong once, and that one's a harder one to do, right? Like 60 versus 120 is definitely more difficult to suss.
I think that's probably the one I also got wrong. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. So yeah, that Splatoon update was nice, and hopefully we do see some more Switch 2 editions, or even just the bump going forward, as we shall call it. I'd like to see more of those. Cool. I won't spend long. I'll probably talk about this more next time. I'll probably talk about the side order DLC for Splatoon 3 next time as well. But I am almost at the end of Chapter 3 of Deltarune. So obviously they released Chapter 3 and 4 of Deltarune, and apparently at the end of Chapter 4 they say Chapter 5 coming in 2026. So better pace of release here for the rest of the chapters of Deltarune, which is quite nice to see. It's great. I mean, yeah, it's really, really good. I mean, Deltarune was already very interesting as a kind of antithesis to Undertale, a dark reflection of it, a whole like different take on what that world is and what they're doing with it. Where Undertale was all about choice, Deltarune is all about your lack of choice, which I think is quite interesting and just thematically quite strong. I mean, the music is fucking fantastic. The battle theme for Deltarune is like such a bop, like unbelievable. Like that man is too talented for his own good. The fact that he put that game together, Undertale, and then also wrote the entire fucking score, like one of the best soundtracks of all time, is surreal. So yeah, I think the music continues to impress, and yeah, great writing, just weird stuff. Like half of this game is like the whole of chapter 3 is basically a game show, and like there's like multiple mini games within the game show and like FMV sequences. Like it's wild the amount of crazy stuff they pack into this thing, and I've really enjoyed it so far. Just yeah, really, really good. So I'll go deeper on it next time. Hopefully we'll have played chapter 3 and chapter 4, and then I can speak to both of them. But as far as like a single player launch title goes, Deltarune is probably the best thing that you can play currently. Only issue is, it's not an issue, but if you haven't played chapters 1 and 2, then you have 4 chapters to play through as opposed to just the new ones that he's released. So,
right.
I would recommend Deltarune to people out there if they've not checked it out, but I imagine most people have because it's one of the most popular things on Earth. So yeah, I think most people have played it. But yeah, I feel like both of us were like I probably like Undertale more than you, Bally, but I don't think we're sickos about it. And I'm not a sicko about Deltarune either, but I think it's very clear the quality that is there, and it's very clear how much work and time and effort and love goes into these chapters. And they're super impressive. Like honestly, very, very cool. So yeah, I'll catch up with everyone about that next time. So yeah, I think that's it. I think it's going to do us for our very first episode about the Nintendo Switch 2. And this is it, Bally. This is the next 8 years of our lives, I guess.
Here we go.
Is the system. So we're going to have a lot more to talk about. We're going to see what other games get announced for it. Does feel like the Summer Game Fest period was lacking in Switch 2 announcements. Feels like there aren't enough dev kits out there for third parties to come and make stuff.
Yeah, they've selected their handful of lucky few, including Toby Fox, and
yeah,
doesn't feel like there's many others. But
no,
we'll see. I guess their hands are on them now, we expect. So we'll see how fast it takes to get those big third-party games coming out. When do you think the first day and date AAA third-party game on Switch 2 will be, and what will it be?
This is a great question. I feel like it might be Call of Duty Black Ops 7 this year.
So that's like normally end of October-ish time.
Yeah,
Okay,
right, because
yeah.
Microsoft made that pledge, right? Like they have to put Call of Duty on Switch now, so now it's here. Let's see if it happens. I think that could be the one potentially. So yeah, we'll see if that happens. I think that could be a interesting one to see if it works or not. Like I think
Does Call of Duty normally have crossplay?
I think so. I think Call of Duty has Warzone and it has like campaign and then it has regular multiplayer. There's like 15 different component parts to Call of Duty to the point where you can download them as individual things. Like if you just want zombies, you can just download zombies, I think. If you just want to do Warzone, you can just do Warzone. Like, pretty sure that's the case. But yeah, I'm curious about a little game called Fortnite, Valley. I actually kind of want to download Fortnite on my Switch 2 and see how that runs, because I think that will start...
Do the Star Wars stuff.
Well, no, I'm not going to spend money on Fortnite. I'm not a lunatic. But I think what it will indicate to me is like... I mean, Fortnite is like the Unreal game, right? Like Epic made Unreal, and like how do Unreal games run on Switch 2? How is Fortnite holding up? How are these games in this big engine going to work going forward? Yeah, I think that's something I'm curious about, would like to dive into, so I'll probably just download Fortnite and check it out and see how it runs, basically, just for my own curiosity from like a third-party game perspective, because I'm not fucking paying full price for Cyberpunk. I barely started that on my big PC, so I'm going to play that on there instead. So yeah, I do think that these big third-party games going forward, it'll be interesting to see how they run, do they sell, all that sort of stuff. Judging by the eShop, Cyberpunk is like the third most popular game for the launch of Switch 2.
Wow, yeah.
So it seems like it's doing quite well. So that worked. I think, yeah, my current frustration right now is, you gave me Cult of the Lamb to play this year for Game Club, whatever the fuck we call it. And I was looking at the Switch eShop and I was like, oh shit, it's 50% off. And I was like, but this is going to be the Switch version. They won't automatically have an upgrade for it. And it's like a company like Massive Monster, they haven't clearly had access to Switch 2 dev kits. How long will I have to wait until they do an update to Cult of the Lamb?
Will it not automatically just run slightly better? Regardless.
It depends on how they have built the game, which is what I was talking about with Mamoru no Bakaru, which is
open frame rates.
Exactly. If they have capped Cult of the Lamb at 30, then it will never go beyond that because it's been coded into the game to cap it at 30. If it is a more open thing, which I haven't looked into, so this might be the case, if it is, then maybe it is worth picking up. But the problem is it's going to be in 1080p still, and it won't go up to 4K. So if I play it on a screen, it will look blurry, is the problem. That was the case because I booted up Splatoon 3 before the update came out, and I was like, ooh, this is a little blurry on the screen. And then after the update, I was like, holy shit, it's 4K now. It looks really, really good. So yeah, I think that is the difference there.
I have a feeling Cult of the Lamb might run at 60 on PS5.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does on PS5.
Right.
We're talking about
I guess
the Nintendo
it
Switch.
On Switch One, yeah.
Yeah, because Switch is... I heard bad things about performance on Switch One, basically, for Cult of the Lamb.
Right.
So yeah, it's indie games like that I'm like, I would like to play more of my small games on this Switch 2 now, but I guess I'm just going to have to wait. So we're going to be in a bit of a holding pattern until more developers get access and more developers do updates to their games and, yeah, get the best possible versions of them out there. But... yeah, until then, I'm sure we'll have plenty to keep us busy. So that is going to do us. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening. Long one, but warranted, I think, for the fact that it is a brand new launch of a brand new system. So, Bally, where can people find you on the internet if they want to figure out your opinions on Switch 2 going forward?
I am at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91 on Blue Sky. Go follow me on there.
Great. You can find me at NBZ on Blue Sky as well. You can also find the podcast at TNL Podcast, and we'll give you updates about the show on there. You can obviously support the show if you would so be kind to by going to patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife, and we'd like to thank some of our patrons.
Thank you to our $10 tier patrons. They are Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK, Alan, Turtle, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, and Ali T. Thank you for your support. Ali T picked up a Switch too. We could talk about that.
He did actually. Yeah, we were having some chat about that. He was like, I think I'm going to go to a midnight launch. I was like, okay, he doesn't have a pre-order or anything. He's just going to man's going to walk in and buy one. So it sounds like it worked, which is good.
Also, this guy also has a young kid. We should also say
exactly,
to midnight launch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And thank you also to all of our other patrons. We really support all the support. We really support all the support. We really appreciate all the support that you give the show.
We support the support.
We support the support. We put out a very special episode of This Nintendo Life where we covered all of the big three gaming. I was going to say gaming conferences. I guess they're just showcases now. So we covered the State of Play. We covered Jeff's Summer Game Fest, and we covered the Xbox Game Showcase, I believe it's called. So
yes.
Yeah. You can
correct.
Go check that out for $1.
Yeah, please do. You can also email the show. And obviously we did a bunch of Discord questions this week. But Bally, where can they send their emails for the future to?
Send your emails to thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Great stuff. Yeah, you can find the show in various places. We're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher. You can download us. You can rate and review us on various places, such as Apple Podcasts, such as Spotify, such as Pocket Casts itself. Click those star buttons.
Well, if you're someone new to Nintendo podcasts because you've just bought a Switch 2 and you're like, I'm going to listen to some podcasts about the Switch 2, then
yes,
hello to you, and I hope you stick around.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Nintendo over here, and you can maybe tell we can be critical of the company.
Are we old and cynical now? We're at that stage. We are old and cynical.
Yeah. No, I think that's the thing. The more you love Nintendo, the more you give them shit, and I think that's that's very much the lane that we live in.
It's the RFN way of life.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I hope you got some insight from this, and if you do enjoy, then feel free to subscribe to the show. And we're every 2 weeks. We'll be in your ear holes talking about Switch 2 for the most part going forward, which is very exciting. So that is going to do us for this time. Thanks everybody so much for listening and for all the support, and we'll see you very soon. Until then, bye bye. The musical interlude used on today's show was Dire Dire Docks from Mario Kart World. Copyright Nintendo 2025.